DA. How does this affect the actual cabinet, and within that cabinet, with the ANC in particular, because, they're together, but also vying for our eyes and eyeballs ahead of the election to show what a good job they're doing. How do they view that as well? Right, let's get connected. You're on the National Pulse.
Add to cards. Love it.
Let's clear your cart when I get.
For real?
Yeah, bo. With my cashback from My Way, I will be getting 10% of my premiums back for staying claim-free for 2 years. So I'll have some extra cash to spoil you and let you live your way.
Dad, you're the best.
Real people, real cars, real rewards. For a quote, visit myway.co.za. My cashback is a feature on qualifying products paid after 2 claim-free years and all premiums paid. Premiums are risk profile dependent. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSB. T's and C's apply. My Way. Live your way.
Catch Top Billing this Youth Day Tuesday evening at 7 as vlogger Snigiwe Sneem Mhlongo finds her mom the best travel companion. Designer Tina Ngogolo marries Xhosa tradition with modern styling. And Geordie and Debbie Osler plant a forest, then build themselves a treehouse of a home. That's Top Billing this Tuesday at 7. Repeat Sunday at 1 on S3 and Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. on SABC1.
Now, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, in collaboration with Classics on Turf, presents a tribute concert honouring the life and music works of Tio Soga, one of the most remarkable South African composers and literary giants of the 19th century. His music, as you would know, and his teachings continue to be celebrated 2 centuries later. So join Afro soul and jazz musician Mandisa Diantis, together the Renaissance singers, as well as the Chamber Orchestra of Joburg under Maestro Kudulwano Masote. You know the name, right? As they breathe new life into the hymnody of the Tio Goga on Saturday. That's the 20th of June on the stage of the Wits Great Hall. The concert starts 7 p.m. and tickets can be booked at Web Tickets for 300 rands, honouring the legacy of Tio Soga, made possible by Wiphold and supported by SAfm.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAfm. SAfm.
Right, we'll get reaction from you, I'm sure, just in a moment. And by the way, as far as the WhatsApp comments are concerned, you can certainly you can send us a voice note immediately. We'll bank it, right? In the meantime, let's find out what's happening. We're going to get to Mpumalanga in just a moment. But quick thought, Siv in Gqeberha. Hi.
Hi, Asraf.
Yeah, how's it, man? Yeah.
Good. What the DA is doing, in simple terms, it's forward-looking. The DA is not investing in the history of itself, that in 1912, in Mugorogoro, those things are gone. John Steenhuisen has no future in the DA reality. We must accept the leader is now Gordon Lewis, and Gordon Lewis is now appointing people that he's going to go forward with. It's as simple as that. It's futuristic. What will the party look like in the future? Unfortunately, other historical parties in South Africa are refusing to look forward. Thank you very much.
Others are refusing. How would you know this is looking forward? It means, are they making the right calls? Does it mean every time you make a decision, you are making the right calls? Right. Let's get to some of...
It's a right call.
Okay, according to you, Siv. Yeah, thanks for that, right? Okay, let's get further thoughts. And there are reactions in terms of voice note comments. Here we are.
Good afternoon, Asraf. Look, man, Cape Town. My one word for that John move is bold. Bold. Colonel Lewis is here to make a statement. He's not gonna. He's gonna hold people accountable, but it's also a strategic move. You know, Valley is Afrikaans. John at its time. You know? So I think he will issue that voter base by November. So it's bold, number one, but strategic as well. So yeah, let's see what happens. Right, Colonel Lewis is gonna shake up some trees. Excuse the pun.
Okay, got that. And you mentioned is Afrikaans. So identity politics, how important is that? And if that's the case, then why stop at Afrikaans? Why not go with the majority of people in South Africa and go for someone who's, black African? I'm just thinking about what you're saying. Interesting in terms of the changes there, right? Right, there's another comment. Here we are.
Hey, afternoon, Ashraf. It's a day in Bushbuck Ridge. South African politics are taking another twist. Isn't it the prerogative of the president to appoint ministers? Now the opposition parties are are dictating to the president who said he must disappoint a minister and appoint another minister. This thing of the ANC, man, this thing of coalition, it has now reduced the president's powers. Hey, hallelujah.
Well, I hear you. I mean, what's that right word? I mean, there's this signing of intent. I may just get the phrasing wrong, but all the parties agreed on that, and as you probably heard from from the analyst just now, in fact, they've signed up to that. That means he makes the decisions, the president, but as part of the GNU agreements, that political parties now do have an input into that. Otherwise, why would they be there, right? So they hold on to their positions and they can make recommendations, and he effectively rubber stamps that. Michael in Durban, hi. Michael, go for it. Hi, Michael.
Yeah, I disagree with some of the points raised by Mark Haywood, who was just on your line, simply because, John Stenson, he works very well as a DA leader. Take nothing away from him. He was a good leader. DA became prominent just because of him, and he was very articulative, a very good man. It's just that, these political leadership roles, they just goes with terms. The only thing he did, it was to go and want to contest for third time or whatever time period. Of which other people, they view that now you are making a political appointment as a career. And it's same with these other political parties. If you look at EFF, you look at ANC, those people, they have been there for donkey years. What has changed? So I like the way how they are just changing. You have got your term, make sure you're effective. At a particular time, you're going to be taken off. Then these ones, other parties, they stay there up until they rot in parliament. So this young guy, Gordon Hill-Lewis, I like his style of leadership. I fully support him. He must do changes and he must step his authority. To step authority doesn't mean that this guy was
in Durban. Okay, Michael, got your point. I mean, we'll find out whether he makes the right decisions. Let's cross to Mpumalanga next.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
There's no question the issue of foreign nationals and immigration is a big issue on the South African political and socio-political agenda. Today, a march against illegal foreign nationals took place in Lydenburg in Mpumalanga. They sent a memo over of demands to the Department of Home Affairs. Let's find out more about it, because there's a few more things that they mentioned. With me is the SABC News reporter in that region, Nonkululeko Mshongwe. Thanks for joining us, as always, on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and afternoon to the listeners.
Right, tell me more. What did you see?
Today, indeed, we did go to Lydenburg, where the residents had a peaceful march to the Department of Home Affairs and the Department of Labor, where they went there to hand over two memorandums of demands, where they are demanding that the shops they should be closed until they verify the foreign nationals that are alleged to be the shop owners in that area.
All right. Tell me about the specific demands they made.
The specific demands they made is that they want a verification of these people, of these foreign nationals, and if they are found that they don't have the relevant documents, then they be sent home, because they are alleging that most of the opportunities they can't access them because these foreign nationals have taken over their area, and other local business people also allege that their businesses are failing because they cannot compete with the prices that these foreign nationals are selling at.
Okay, maybe just answer this as we get to news in one go. I mean, what is the crowd like? Were they part of an organization that has a name? And was that memo accepted by the Department of Home Affairs?
No, they are not into any organization. They are just the residents as a whole, because they came in a number. There was a large number of them, and they all share the same sentiment.
All right, let's leave it at that. Nonkululeko Shongwe, SABC News reporter in Mpumalanga, all sharing the same sentiment. There's no question there's a sense of momentum, different people now feeling that they need to assert themselves. And the issues raised are no different to what's been raised for the last few months, if not even longer than that. Let's get the news headlines. It's 3:30 years on Dela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Malawian diplomats have raised concerns over rising numbers of migrants seeking assistance at Durban's Sherwood Hall transit site, fearing some may be exploiting the repatriation program. Hawks KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commander Campbell Newswa says there's credible evidence in identifying the person believed to be behind the theft of the 541-kilogram cocaine consignment in Port Shepstone. And health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo are searching for a 6-year-old girl with Ebola who was taken from a treatment facility in North Kivu province. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Kapele.
Right, to be the name Lionel Messi somehow is on everybody's lips.
Absolutely. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Yesterday you did say you're going to try to wake up at 3 a.m. Were you able to wake up?
Absolutely not.
But I'm sure you know what happened, right?
I do know. I have my arguments about whether the Algerian defense were also asleep, because I think they were.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing for sure is that if you did stay up, it was worth the while. But it was interesting just to see the whole talk around Messi deserving that red card or not. There was a foul in the game, and a lot of pundits are believing that he should have received a red card. This is before he even scored his hat trick. And now people are asking, are referees giving Messi the preferential treatment? Because not even a yellow card was given to him. So that is the big question. But at the end of the day, he has 16 World Cup goals right now. He also has his 120th international career goal. And also, he was Argentina's youngest World Cup scorer. And now he's the oldest World Cup hat-trick scorer. So he says that his main inspiration is from Spain's and my ultimate favorite, Rafa Nadal, who won 22 Grand Slam titles before retiring from tennis at the age of 38 back in 2024. Now, all eyes are on seeing if Messi is going to continue with his scoring ways. Argentina take on Austria on Monday before facing Jordan in the last group game on the 27th of June. But it was also great seeing Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland's brace. So really great sixth day of the World Cup. Tonight, though, Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal begin their 2026 World Cup campaign against DR Congo. This match marks the first meeting between the two teams. It's been 60 years since Portugal's best World Cup showing back in 1996. They finished third, but all eyes will obviously be on Ronaldo making his sixth World Cup appearance. And for Congo, on the other hand, it's their second World Cup appearance, and they are yet to score in the global showpiece. And despite being underdogs, DRC has players who compete in European leagues like Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Cedric Bakambu, amongst others, and they have the potential to pose a threat to Portugal, who have a balanced squad of the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Nuno Mendes, amongst others. And kickoff for this game is at 7 p.m. Also tonight, in terms of the FIFA World Cup, England face Croatia, and that is at 10 p.m. Ghana are up against Panama at 3 a.m. Meanwhile, Bafana have arrived in Atlanta for their second group game against Czechia tomorrow. Both sides very desperate for wins after losing their opening games tomorrow. It's a must-win so for both nations. Bafana are bottom of the group, and a victory would move them on to 3 points and place qualification for the knockout stages firmly back into their hands ahead of their final group fixture against South Korea next week. Now, a draw would keep South Africa's hopes alive, but Bruce's side would likely need to beat Korea and hope other results fall in their favor. Hopefully, we don't get to a stage where we need to take out our calculators as per usual. But moving on to cricket, also in action today, the Proteas women. And Proteas women wicketkeeper Snalo Jafta says that they are not panicking ahead of their match against Pakistan today, despite losing their T20 World Cup opener against Australia on Saturday. Jafta says that they have full trust in the process and in what Coach Mandla Mashimbi decides regarding the 11 put on the field. She also believes that they have adequately prepared for the tournament, which will eventually be evident in the results.
No, we speak on trust, right? For us as a team, we trust the coach's call. And the lovely thing about us, we're very versatile. You had Danae not playing, Tasman not playing. Those are people that can also filter in. So if you're going to say we're going to have the same 11, I think my coach will just giggle, knowing him. But with him, the one thing that even when we were back home, he literally said, just trust the process. Nades, Durkee, they've got so much potential. And for them, any other given day, they will go, and I back them for that. And I think for us is to just know at any point, Coach might just say go in, and it's like you've done the prep. That's what he's basically saying. Is like go out there and express yourself. He's always been that type of person where you do the work, and he just says go flourish and have fun with it.
Well, just earlier on, Australia women beat Bangladesh by 9 wickets with 63 balls left. In terms of rugby, Stormers coach John Dobson says that the decision to replace Paul de Villiers in the Euro C semi-final loss to Leinster was planned before kickoff and based on workload data, not tactics gone wrong. De Villiers had already hit around 30 breakdowns, won a 10 over, and also covered more than 6 kilometers before being substituted in the 68th minute. Dobson said that the plan was for Ruan Ackerman to add late game physicality, but Ackerman's red card proved costly in their 2011 defeat. In terms of golf, Brooks Koepka says that he will tee up at this week's US Open. This is despite withdrawing from the Canadian Open with a left-hand issue. The 5-time major winner experienced weakness and tingling in his pinky and ring finger over the weekend, making it very difficult to grip the club. Askan ruled out neck problems, and Koepka says that the ulnar nerve just flared a little bit, and he reports steady improvement and returns for the first time at Shinnecock since winning there back in 2018. Finally, in motorsports, Marc Marquez heads to Brno, aiming to close the gap on championship leader Marco Bezzecchi. This is after a strong comeback in Hungary. The 7-time champion returned from a broken foot with a sprint and race stubble, his 100th MotoGP win. Now, Bezzecchi still leads the standings on 180 points, with Jorge Martin second on 160 and Marquez fifth on 108. On that note, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour, and looking forward to the Bafana game tomorrow, Ashraf.
But let me ask you, before we get to tomorrow, so you told us what happened with Messi, but do you think he should have had a red card?
I feel like it should have been a yellow, a card of some sort, whether it's a yellow or a red card. I didn't fully get to see the incident properly, but I do know that there was VAR, and the VAR did not really come to the party with regards to that one. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, John
really
Obi
sucks.
Mikel from Nigeria made the point to say because it's Messi, they're just looking at things very, very differently. I mean, it's a clear shot of his foot on the back of the leg of the player, right? Like completely almost vertical. It's very unusual, right? And you think there was like nothing, just the most bizarre thing in the world. So there's the glory of the hat-trick, but what happened before? And we know South Africa, in our game, you can debate whether, they gave us any benefit of a doubt with our red cards. Yeah.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Oh, yeah, boy. Clap so wet, yo. You fit point sure. In 1976, the youth switcher on, and for 50 years, the nation has watched as the story unfolds. And namhlanje, courage looks the same and different. It looks like showing up when no one believes in you. It's about finding the strength to stand up again. The courage of 1976 is a pillar in 2026. SAPC 1, Zanzi for sure. The source of youth courage. My God.
Mama Millionaire, and yes, I am a millionaire. And then you'd be on the couch with your 6 numbers. But 7 is for heaven, or yes. But 4 is for the door, or yes. But 38 is never too late, or yes. Well, the Lotto Live draws are back. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Catch the live draw at 9 p.m. The National Lottery. More plays, more chances, more millions. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The National Lottery is officially operated by Sizakai.
Well, make a note of this. The Drakes return to the Mandela stage at Joburg Theatre with Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City 2026. It happens from today, up to the 20th of June. The 4-day musical showcasing promises of vibrant, genre-spanning celebration of community, heritage, and global musical exchange. Wednesday and Thursday nights, some of Gauteng's best school choirs join the Drakes on stage. And on Friday, the 19th of June, the internationally acclaimed Minnesota Boys Choir from the USA and the University of Joburg's choir joined the Drakes for a special global collaboration of community and heritage. Then, the big one, the Drakensberg Boys Choir Gala concert on Saturday the 20th promises to be a spectacular closing to the event itself, right? So, how do you get there? Well, book now. Go to the website www.dbchoir.com, dbchoir.com. Tickets naturally selling fast, so join the queue.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, as we debate some of the changing of the guards with regard to the DA and what that means for the GNU and perhaps that sense of assertiveness, we'll cross to the DRC in just a moment. Well, about the DRC in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's get to some further comments that we have from you via WhatsApp. Let's do that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, I love your sentiment there on the issue of the DA. Because had it been MK or ANC, there were going to be rumors. No, the roof is leaking. No, what 212 is happening. So now, because of the DA now, they call it's a strategic move and all that. Oh, I love your sentiment on that one. Thank you.
Ashraf, good day, brother. Hope you're well, man. I'm interested in knowing what the IEC has to say caused that glitch back then when we were voting. Very interested. I wish the MK could get a detailed analytics report from a third-party investigator to tell us exactly what happened there. Because we can't rely on machinery doing that during voting periods. You know what I mean? It makes the whole process a bit dodgy. So I wish we could get access to as to what really happened on that day. Thank you.
So are you talking about that day of those results all the time ago, or has something come up that I'm not quite aware of? You might just be very clear. I think you're talking about that election, May 29th, right? A couple of years back. Okay, let's talk about another, changes certainly within countries and potential changes regarding the DRC. The DRC's Senate has adopted a bill to change the constitution, which could open the door to a third term in office for the DRC President Felix Tshisekedi. This is days after a protest against the bill turned violent. So what are the implications? Dr. David Matsanga with me, political scientist and conflict resolution expert. Appreciate you joining us, as always, on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, my brother. Good afternoon across the continent of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How are you, all of you?
Good. How should we interpret what has happened in terms of the Senate adopting a bill to change the constitution of the DRC?
It is becoming a norm across Africa that something is wrong with the constitutions and the constitutionalism. I am one of the few people who has told Africans and my fellow friends in government, heads of state, the constitutions that you took on are a burden. Simplify them, decide as nationals. The only constitution that works in the world is the Constitution of South Africa, where you are, you vote, you go home, you wait for your results. The rest of Africa, apart from Ghana and also Liberia, Senegal, and which other country? Botswana. The rest, there is chaos. Someone is either increasing the term, removing the term, wanting more time. Because we took on wrong constitutions. Therefore, this is not a new case for me. I knew it was coming. That is how it starts. It walks like a duck. It behaves like a duck. It is coming. He wants another term.
If it walks like a duck, it behaves like a duck. So what then do you describe what's happened in the DRC in terms of this move to change the constitution to entrench the president's powers? What would be your one word to describe
Very dangerous situation. Very dangerous situation for the country that has not healed from the war. We have a war, and here is a president who is only determined to change the constitution to entrench himself, as if the other years are not enough. We have a war that he has not even tried to heal for a day. This current peace process is just fragile. It is very bad for the DRC. It's very bad for the people of DRC who expect development, who expect roads, medicine, hospitals. A man is busy changing the constitution and to entrench himself to power. It is going to be a bad thing for him, and I think he will be revolted against.
Talking about revolts, there were already protests, I understand, right? There was concern from people. What happened to that protest against the bill?
Of course, every protest in Africa is crushed. The government will come in heavy-handedly and crush the protest. But you can crush the protest physically, but you not crush. You know what? You not crush the spirit of the people. Congolese, for the last since 1961, have never had peace. Some places in Africa, you can't know whether in Congo you don't know whether there is a road, or they have never seen a road. They have never seen a hospital. They have never seen anything enough like a school. So it is growing and growing. It could lead to a military situation, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, I mean, so then you're saying it could lead to a military situation where, first of all, in terms of that change, right, how does that fit in with the Constitution? Does the Constitution allow it or not?
The Constitution, of course, does not allow. It allows 2 terms and you go. But here, the voting has been extended. They have voted and enlarged the free fall. It is what we call in a free fall gap, where the president can say, but now you have changed this constitution, but I am not going to go until you changed it while I was in office. So I have not finished my term. Since the constitution has been done now, I can as well begin from here. That is where the people are getting worried.
I mean, I understand that, for this to be enacted, you would actually have to have a referendum, right? But are you saying, based upon your understanding of the terrain, that referendum then would be a given? It would be a landslide victory for the president?
Yes, a referendum in Congo will be won by the government because some places have Ebola. How do you do a referendum? Have you noticed that every time we want to do anything in Congo, there is a disease that comes? Election, there is a disease, Ebola. About 5 million people don't turn up to vote. Do you know that? Everything, you watch again, everything you want to do in Congo, there is something that comes to stop it being done. So the population in DRC, Congo, and Kinshasa will be the one to vote if you create a referendum. Ngoma is already out of reach, so which he will only influence a few people, and the referendum will go through.
Okay, just lastly, has there been any reaction from anybody, either within the country or from others like the African Union or other observers that you need to tell us about in 30 seconds here?
My dear brother, you and I, we agreed that Africa to make our things good, don't mention African Union. African Union, my brother, died long time ago. The political security and the peace commission, the man guzzled the dollars, but he doesn't know what job he does. He should be in Congo now advising the government that this is wrong. African Union died. So there is no voice The only voices that I can see are leaders of opposition and some other diaspora groups that are saying this is entrenchment of power by Mr. Tshisekedi. It is, and my view is very clear, and I've told you this time and time again on this same program. The only way to have Congo peaceful is to have a state or states. Otherwise, Congo is too big for one person to be in Kinshasa, to be the president. It is too big. It can't be managed.
So you're saying it needs to be cut up. Let's talk about that some other time. Dr. David Matsanga, carving up the Congo, I don't know. Political scientist, conflict resolution expert, but the key point he made regarding the DRC is African Union died a long time ago. So there is no voice. The African Union died a long time ago. There is no voice. Dr. David Matsanga, much appreciate, as always, your input here on the National Pulse.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Life isn't only about what happens around us, it's also about what happens within us. Join SAFM for Reflections from this Sunday on The Alternative Breakfast, a weekly space for thoughtful conversations about life, purpose, relationships, and the human experience. Different voices, fresh perspectives, practical wisdom. Because sometimes the most important conversations are the ones that help us understand ourselves and each other. Reflections about life, meaning, and the ties that bind us. Only on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Right, so it's a big day tomorrow for Bafana, and 6 o'clock is when that game starts, right? So first things first, it means the show will end at 5 because there'll be the markets that will start earlier, and then the build up to the actual game at 6 o'clock. Now, also important, SAFM invites you to experience the excitement, passion, and the national pride as Bafana takes on Czechia tomorrow, right? From, kickoff at 6, starts from 5, the build-up. Join your favourite SAFM presenters tomorrow at the SABC Radio Park Building, ground floor auditorium. Now, how do you do that? You stand a chance to winning a double ticket. Provide the following details on the competition form link. Go to the SAFM Facebook page. That's what you need to do. SAFM Facebook page, Instagram, X, or the SAFM website. When you get onto that page, there's a form link on that page. Then put on your name and surname, contact number, plus one name and surname and your email address. And then wear your Bafana jersey to show your support. That's when you win the tickets as well, right? Winners must be Gauteng-based. T's and C's apply.
The big issue on the National Pulse.
Right, we've been running with the big issue this week, and since it's been Youth Month and we had Youth Day yesterday, the specific focus this time round is on youth activism. So important, don't you think, right? Linked to that, let's get the perspective in this case here from the South African Youth Business Chamber. With me is Kanya Ndlovu, the head of Research and Policy Committee at the SAYBC. Kanya, thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Let's talk about, certainly from where you sit at the South African Youth Business Chamber, for all the things we've been talking about in the last few months, right? The issues of unemployment and growth is key. And I would think that the Business Chamber, yours, sits squarely into that space, isn't it?
Yes, no, definitely. So we see unemployment as a structural issue, the one that predates the youth, but it's an issue that we must continuously struggle with. Therefore, we see it as something that, because it's a distinguishing characteristic of the South African youth, unfortunately, in our present day, the government needs to make more active, the government as well as the private sector needs to make more active actions towards resolving what we acknowledge as a crisis.
All right, let's then talk about your activism, yours as in your organizations. What form of activism do you push for?
So because we acknowledge that modern activism includes entrepreneurship, innovation, community leadership, policy engagement, as well as digital participation, as well as that we don't need handouts. We need things that change the way systems operate so we can ensure long-term longevity of employment for the youth and of opportunities for the youth that go far beyond employment but prioritize economic inclusion. So we prioritize not just having conversations with people, but meaningfully engaging with the private sector, with different sectors in order to advocate for our people, because with the modern generation, youth activism is taking a new perspective. So we are acknowledging the ever-changing ways that the youth is embracing that. So it's through digital advocacy. We're on digital platforms. We release press releases. We comment on both, just because we understand that a lot of what goes into solving a crisis like this is heavily laced with jargon. So we aid those who aren't as knowledgeable in that jargon to fully understand the issues and how the government is resolving them and the issues that pertain to them.
How's it working? How's your form of activism working?
So our form of activism, I think the biggest one that we can speak of as the South African Youth Business Chamber at our current moment is that we're currently planning our Executive National Youth Imbizo that will be happening in August in Johannesburg. And that is us taking a call of action to bring as many people involved in a space, whether it be academics, diplomats, entrepreneurs, whether it be scholars, and we bring the main guests, which are the youth, and we sit down and we have these conversations. We have, how do you think that power and governance and South Africa's international political positioning affects the youth? How does the technological transformation affect the youth? How can we further invest into African philanthropy and the arts, and how can we make this something that can benefit the youth, and that all together will come together in a communique that will hand over to Parliament, as well as the Minister of Women, Youth and Disabled Persons, as well as the Ministry of Small Business Development. So that's the stand that we're taking. We're understanding that we need to have the youth together in one space and speak about it and have tangible outcomes come from that, and not just accept symbolic outcomes.
Now, we touched on this yesterday being Youth Day. Then again, what would be the channels for youth? Should they have their own youth-based channels like your South African Youth Chamber, or should they in fact work through political parties and establish not just a presence but some serious clout there, or should they form their own parties?
Yeah, I think the basis of this issue needs to be, and resolving it needs to be centered around cooperation and collaboration. So whether it's between a youth organization that is spearheaded by the youth themselves, or whether the youth is joining more political parties, or they're joining youth-led organizations such as ourselves, we can't condemn that, but we should rather prioritize any which way and form that it happens. If it happens in a way that the youth is finding an organization that, or creating their own that reflects their own morals, they need to join that, and that will improve the participation of the youth and allow for greater collaboration, because we see that there's a lot of voices from the youth, but it's hard to organize and mobilize. So I think our biggest priority shouldn't be limiting the different channels that the youth can have, but understanding and projecting to the youth that there are these channels, there are these platforms, engage with them, and let us take a stand, let us access our rights to having dignified work.
I wonder what's missing. Just one quick answer on that one. Anything missing in youth activism?
Anything missing in youth activism? I think there's a lot of efforts from government and parliament to have, or to bring the bills and the reformations and the amendments and the resolutions to the youth, but that's not going to cut it anymore. We need to be decision makers from point A of the process all the way down to point Z, and I think that's what's missing.
Okay.
We're not seen as collaborative partners.
And let's hope somebody's listening. Kanya Ndlovu, the head of research and policy committee at the South African Youth Business Chamber. Much appreciate your input here on the National Pulse. 4 o'clock, it's time for the news.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, concerns of a number of Malawians seeking assistance and testimony on evidence implicating a person involved in KZN drug theft. For SAfm News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. Malawian diplomats have raised concerns over rising numbers of migrants seeking assistance at Durban's Sherwood Hall transit site, fearing some may be exploiting the repatriation program. Tensions flared earlier this morning after some migrants reportedly clashed with the immigration officers. It is alleged the group was being taken through court processing required for repatriation. Others voiced frustration over delays in transportation arrangements. Malawian official Admin Ali says the site was set up to help vulnerable migrants fleeing threats. Ali says they are now seeing people arriving from across South Africa after hearing about free transport back to Malawi.
And our government too is trying all the best to put more buses so that we have to try as soon as possible to clear this place. The place is not cleared because some of us still heaping here. That's a problem which we're having. And I even asked the councillor to say that can we close this camp? Those who are coming, they must direct to another place so that we must know what are we doing. Because at the end of the day, people, they will be piling. If we take 1,000 people today, then the following days, another 1,000 is coming. So it's the same thing, like we are not doing anything. So far, the buses which have left, first day, the bus which left was 9. Then yesterday, when I'm counting, I think 11 buses left. So when we calculate maybe 1,000 plus, the people who have left. But when we look on the ground, it seems like there's no one left. It seems like the people are still piling.
KwaZulu-Natal Home Affairs official Cyril Mncwabe says authorities are working with the police and the Malawian government to restore order at the site and to fast-track the repatriation process.
We have had a meeting with the police. This place is going to be cordoned off as today, cordoned off. Where that is the measure we're trying to put in place to cordon this place. Anybody that is not in the site at the time of the cordoning is not going to be allowed to come here because we are having that kind of a serious challenge. Once we have cordoned this place, the other place that we are coming up with is also a place where access is going to be controlled. So that is what we have agreed with the Malawian government.
Hawks KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commander Campbell Nuswa says that there is credible evidence identifying the person believed to be behind the theft of 541 kilogram cocaine consignment in Port Shepstone. His testimony before the Madlanga Commission corroborates that of Lieutenant Colonel Gavin Jacob and Warrant Officer Carl Sender. The two previously testified that the suspects behind the theft of the cocaine are known. Nuswa further testified that an alleged informer visited the Hawks Durban offices and provided senior officials with information relating to the matter.
As testified by Warrant Officer Sander and Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, there is a credible evidence on the identity as to who is behind the theft. I have no association with that person. There was a person that came to Durban office and gave information about it, and he was taken to senior officers, and DPCI investigators were told about this person.
Economists say the jump in inflation to 4.5% year-on-year in May, as highest level since July 2024, is being driven primarily by surging global oil prices and domestic fuel hikes. Investec chief economist Annabel Bishop says while June saw petrol price increase, a slight reprieve is on the horizon for July. However, the overall moderation effect on inflation will likely be minimal, as previous fuel price levy cuts are expected to be reversed. First.
May CPI inflation jumped to 4.5% from 4%, with ongoing inflationary effects from the second month of diesel and price hikes on the oil price drop of the Middle East. Remember, this inflation is for the month of May, and that's when we saw another tranche of large fuel price hikes. Indeed, as we actually have a look at the inflation figures going forwards, there's yet another petrol price increase to come through in June of R1.43 per litre, which will push CPI inflation nearer to 5%.
Health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo are searching for a 6-year-old girl with Ebola who was taken from a treatment facility in North Kivu province. More than 600 cases of the virus have been confirmed in the country, with over 100 deaths recorded since the outbreak started. The BBC's Camilla Mills has the details.
According to an official notice, the mother and child were removed from a hospital by a group of men who refused their transfer to an Ebola treatment centre. Authorities say the child had tested positive for the virus and are appealing for information on her whereabouts. The case highlights the difficulties facing health workers as they try to contain the latest Ebola outbreak. Community mistrust, misinformation, and insecurity have hampered efforts to trace contacts and isolate patients in some affected areas. Health officials warn that finding the child is crucial, both for her treatment and to help prevent further spread of the disease.
Recapping the top story, Malawian diplomats have raised concerns over rising numbers of migrants seeking assistance at Durban's Sherwood Hall transit site, fearing some may be exploiting the repatriation program. I'm Ondalambana for SAfm News Headlines at 4:30.
Sports, the Sour Erasmus uses Barbarians clash to expand Springbok depth, Party to miss Ghana World Cup opener, and Fulvar to play 100th international game, while Lees reaches 300th cap for Proteas woman. More details at 4:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. We start in Joburg with a crash on the M1 South at Winnie Mandela. Traffic parking all the way back to Rivonia Road, looking quite heavy as well. A couple of big traffic lights out. Grayston and Daisy is offline. Delays towards the Mike 1. And Jan Smuts and Republic is off Republic Road. Coming into Randburg off Winnie Mandela down towards Jan Smuts. Very slow going. Over into Durban. Got some pressure on the N2 North. A run from Spaghetti Junction up towards Umgeni Road. In fact, there is a breakdown before Spaghetti Junction. Then a queue after that all the way through to Umgeni. N3 outbound from Sherwood through to Pavilion Mall. That's very heavy as well. The Cliffdale Keyridge section, generally okay. And if you're coming out of Pietermaritzburg, news not great. There's a breakdown just before the Market Road exit, close to the New England Road. Pietermaritzburg bypass is backlogged on the bottom section there. Cape Town, the Tygerberg Road, home to Durbanville, being held up. There's roadworks near Bloemendal, and that's causing a backlog and a half. The N2 out of town, slow through Hospital Bend towards Bunga Avenue, and very slow along the coastal route as well. Victoria Road, roadworks at Oudekral, causing delays from Buckhoven heading south to Llandudno and Hout Bay. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Stay safe on the roads. SAfm is with you. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAfm. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, I know you're itching to comment, so let's get reaction from you. Some people are tweeting as well, which is great that you do that, but I'll take your live calls just now. And I mean, here's one from Standing for Justice saying, the statement of intent can never supersede the Constitution. If it does, it will be the day of our democracy goes to junk status. We should never allow the Constitution to be usurped for narrow party politics. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think there's a grey area within that means, yes, there's a recommendation made, and why would the president then not listen to his GNU partner? Why would he not? Because he may be constitutionally correct, but he's not taking orders. He understands he's got to keep the centre together, and that's the only way he can do so. We'll get your calls. We'll also chat to Dr. Shaheen Patel later on in a thought leader conversation around political freedom and economic freedom. Very important conversation. Looking forward to that as well, right? But there's also been other developments regarding the ongoing conversation around developments in the eThekwini region. We'll talk about that next.
We asked rugby legend Francois Steyn what he thinks of the all-new Toyota BZ4X. France, would you say the BZ4X is a rugged all-wheel drive SUV?
Yeah,
Cool. Was the acceleration and handling good?
Yeah.
All right. So you think the BZ4X can handle South Africa?
Varangay.
Well, there you have it. The all-new Toyota BZ4X, an all-wheel drive battery electric SUV made to handle South Africa. The BZ4X. It just got real.
Water bottle, check. Sunscreen, check. Binoculars, around my neck.
Is that Tembi? The same couch potato who shouts when we interrupt his soapies with
But look at her now, a professional bird watcher.
Oh, I'm shook. She's finally out here.
I love the peaceful sounds of nature. Live life outside with Cape Union Mart.
Make sure you don't miss out as the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, in collaboration with Classics on Turf, pay tribute to the life and music of Tio Soga in a concert led by Mandisi Yankees with the Renaissance Singers, the Chamber Orchestra of Johannesburg, conducted by Kutlwano Masote. The concert takes place on Saturday, the 20th of June, 7 p.m. at the Wits Great Hall. Tickets are available from web tickets at 300 Rand each, honoring the legacy of Tio Soga, made possible by Webhold and supported by SAFM.
Right, we've all had the anxiety, right? I'm sure you have, of wondering if our insurer will pay out our claims. But without insurance, you've got peace of mind. The Ombudsman, an independent body that rules on complaints, confirmed in their 2025 annual report that OUTsurance had the lowest overturned ratio of complaints received. So switch to OUTsurance, the insurer that consistently delivers on what you need insurance to do. How do you get connected? Call 08600 60000 or visit outsurance.coza today. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's and information available online.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
So there's been developments in the eThekwini region, and I understand the mayor of that region, Cyril Kaba, together with representatives from the Departments of Justice and Constitutional Development and Home Affairs, briefed the media on the latest interventions around the issues of the Malawian nationals being fast-tracked, and the numbers of, from 7,000 to 10,000. It's naturally provoked a huge response from across the board. Let's get up to date with that with the SABC News reporter who's been on the ground with that issue. That's Klino Manlinga. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, and greetings to the listeners.
I can hear in the background you have lots of people around you. Where are you now?
Yes, we are still at the Sherwood Hall, where, as we speak, people are being loaded onto two buses that are parked outside the hall. Most of them are taking their luggage with them. Not sure exactly if they are taken to the second site that the eThekwini mayor has just confirmed to us just an hour ago that they've established for men, because the people that are being loaded onto the buses now are men. Not sure if these people being taken away now are taken to that second site, or they have been shipped off to their native country of Malawi.
And so these are men. There were lots of women and children the previous days, right? In terms of the numbers, how many people then up to now, by your understanding, have either gone or are actually on that next bus set to leave?
What we have been able to confirm as of this point is that only over 1,500 people have been processed and have gone through the thorough checks by the South African Home Affairs Department and the Malawian government officials. So those are the people that are already on the 19 buses that are on their way traveling to Malawi as we speak.
Okay.
But there are definitely thousands more still stuck here at the Sherwood Park.
All right. When you say thousands more, how many? I mean, approximately?
So far, they did say that about 6,000 or even more could be here at the site. The issue is right now they're trying to contain the space because they've seen that more and more people are flocking to the site. These are people from different parts of the province or even different parts of the country that have seen on the news or anywhere on socials saying that Malawian citizens are being repatriated from here in Durban to their home country.
And let's be clear, what's your understanding that they are willingly wanting to be repatriated because of taking the call in the light of the many marches against undocumented foreign nationals? Is it that? Is it the support of their government, or is it actual fear from Malawians because of intimidation and outright harassment by South Africans against them?
It's both at the stage. There are those that were intimidated in their communities where they are settled across the province, and we do have people that are voluntary taking advantage of the opportunity to get transportation to go home amid the 30th June deadline. We spoke to some of the Malawian citizens here. They did explain that in some cases they've had no other choice but to leave the country because in their places of employment, their bosses or their employers have told them that they can't keep them in the country. They can't keep employing them here. So they would need to leave. So they have no other option to take advantage of this.
Have any of them come up with the point that, in fact, for an actual repatriation, if they want to stay, there needs to be an actual court order, so I understand. Or they're just leaving willingly out of fear?
Can you repeat that for me?
I was saying, there's the counter argument that to say they actually would need a court order that then removes a person and ensures that the person leaves the country. Without that, you can't just physically, knowingly just say voluntarily you must go, right? Are any of them aware of some of the rights they may have?
Yes, definitely. Because right now, what the mayor was explaining was that this operation, this repatriation process, has moved beyond a voluntary repatriation process. So now it's with the help of the South African Justice Department, it's now become a deportation operation. So they've now roped in the courts, our South African courts, to help. So we've seen earlier buses shipping some of the individuals, and mostly of them men, because they are being moved to a second location, as I mentioned earlier, and they will be processed through the South African courts. And then after the South African courts, they will be taken onto buses back to their respective countries. The mayor did also explain that there are also virtual courts that they've set up inside the Sherwood Hall. And at that other side, they have another virtual court that will work beyond the normal business working hours of courts. And that's where also that process will also take place. He did mention that 6 other courts, standing courts, will be allocated towards dealing with this crisis as more and more people flock in for repatriation.
And that, I understand, was with the mayor Cyril Kaba, who actually briefed the media today, right? Did he explain why the escalation to actual deportment versus voluntary repatriation?
He explained the fact that the number of people that are here is too much compared to the number of buses the Malawian government is bringing in to help the people to take them home. So to help speed up that process, as the South African government, they saw that they can now step in to help push this process faster. Hence, as of tonight, the police, as we speak, they are working on cordoning off the space around this park so that they control the crowd that's within the space and control who is in and out of the space.
Just lastly, there has been this narrative to say, why does it seem like, specifically in the Durban or Tegwini region, that it's Malawian nationals in particular that are being rounded up? Can you explain that?
So basically, it's only the Malawian citizens that are being deported or repatriated. It's because the Malawian government, working together with the South African government, has come up with this operation to have their people who want to go home, whether is it because of the 30 June due date or for whatever reasons they may be, to go home or with the help of their government, and that's why only the Malawian citizens are getting the help that they are receiving.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time. That's Kutle Malinga, SABC News reporter, covering that story with all the emotions that are taking place. Whichever way you look at it, you can't deny that at the center of it all are human beings. This is the National Pulse.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Sanmuran, this is Shugela from Amalanga Wafani.
Hi, my name is Sipho Mbele, playing the role of Mahlangu on Amalanga Wafani.
Sanmonani, hello, my name is Zazi Kunene, and I play Untando on the new season of Amalanga Wafani. Catch Amalanga Wafani on SABC1.
Do yourself a favor, tune in
every weekday at 6:30 p.m. only on SABC1.
Mzansi for sure.
Mama Million here, and yes, I am a millionaire. And there you'd be on the couch with your 6 numbers. But 7 is for heaven, or yes. But 4 is for the door, or yes. But 38 is never too late, or yes. Well, the Lotto Live draws are back. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Catch the live draw at 9 p.m. The National Lottery. More plays, more chances, more millions. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The National Lottery is officially operated by Sizakai.
The National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right. In fact, let's get to your thoughts. Okay. So, what is it you want to get off your chest? Let's get reaction from you. I'm going to first get to some of the callers. Mabula in Polokwane. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. Great show.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
The issue of the DA about the replacements in the cabinet, including that of Mr. Steinhazen. I think there's two parts. There's the political part, there's the legal part. So I understand the political part. They are in a coalition with the ANC and other parties, so they've got the right to have a say on who serves in cabinet. But I have a problem with them making these processes public, because legally only the president makes appointment in cabinet, which is the reason why when the first cabinet was announced, we didn't see different parties saying we are forwarding a minister for the Ministry of this, maybe sports or Ministry of Land Affairs. They just kept quiet until the president announced, and that's when we heard that different parties made submission in terms of different ministries. So you don't want the cabinet to become almost like a federation or a parliament where people just submit lists to say, I'll take this ministry and I'm submitting this person. You still, in terms of our current constitution, want the president to be seen to be the one that is appointing the cabinet, although we know there are political processes in the background, but I have a problem with them being made public before the president makes an announcement.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that the point? That when you go back to that very first appointments of the GNU, I mean, it's pretty obvious that before the president publicly pronounces on it, that it's been negotiated privately. I think the difference in this case here is the story that the DA already put their positions up front, as opposed to saying, in consultation with the president, these are the changes that are made. But ultimately, the president would still have to sign off on it, right?
Yes, but he's the one that, in my mind, should be breaking it to the public. As I say, even if though we know there are consultations in the past, it's like even before when the ANC had won the majority, we knew that when the cabinet is announced, he would have negotiated internally within the ANC with the top 7 or NEC or whoever. But you don't expect the ANC to be the one announcing before the president announced.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. Point made.
So
yeah. I think we just lost him, but I get your point. I think you've articulated that, and many may concur with you. What's the big lesson to learn from this one? Not about the DA, but about the announcement and the pronouncement of these cabinet changes. Right, Ali in Tsakane. Hi, Ali.
Good afternoon to you
Good
and
afternoon.
your team.
Good
Great
afternoon.
show as
Thank you.
usual.
Stay tuned. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Mine is very short. The situation in Durban regarding Malawian illegal immigrants is likely to put South Africa in the wrong image all over the world. Soon, before we know, we'll be in the news for all the wrong reasons. Our government failed to curb the inflow of illegal immigrants. Now we are failing to manage their exit. These people come voluntarily, they want to leave. And at the speed we are processing these people, one bus per day, when we have more than 10,000 in a park, is a catalyst for a disaster. These people came in here disorderly. If they want to leave, I know the reasons are valid to validate who they are, let them leave. If the bus comes in, first just manage the queue, get into the bus, let them leave. And today was a sign for that, because they started stoning media people and police. Before we know it, one person will die there, then the hell will break loose. Before we know it, KZN is notorious for rains. Torrential rains will come and people will be dying in the park.
Okay.
I don't know why our government always fails to manage simple things. If a person, in conclusion, for example, is coming from Lesotho and decide to climb in a bus going to Malawi, it's not the government's problem. Allow the people to exit. They are going to cordon off thousands now not to come in. We want them to leave, or the government wants them to leave. Why stopping them? Stop the processing by Home Affairs, because they are one of the causes of the problem.
All right.
By
Ali, you've made your point very, very clear. Stop the processing, and then talking about the stoning. And I've seen reports of that where there's been hundreds of people, if not more. The claim is that they're Malawian nationals, in fact, marching, protesting, and then also stoning at the police. Well, if that's the case, I mean, that's unacceptable. On the other hand, it's not the only time that people have ever done that to police, so it's not unique. There's been South Africans who've done the same thing. Doesn't make it right in both cases, by the way. One thing we know, that issue has got to be handled. The question is, how do you handle it? Tati in Northwest, you're live. Go for it.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good
Thank
afternoon.
you for the call. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to comment on the thing that you are saying before the news, 4 o'clock news.
About the DRC you're talking about.
About the DRC,
yes, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. You see, sir, let me tell you, to reduce the crisis here in the continent, it's not good to impose to us the dictator, because the current president in the DRC, it seems like he wants to dictate many things there to change the constitution. This is the thing that is going to create another violence in the country. So about the African Union, I don't know the African Union what they are doing, because always those leaders they are imposing the things that they want for themselves. This is a self-sufficient, which we don't want. And the last thing that the person who said the Congo is too big, you have to be balkanized, or you have to something like that. We don't agree about that thing. We don't agree, because.
But maybe you can say you don't agree. How do you say we don't agree? Are you part of the party?
No, because I am the national of Congo. I'm the citizen.
No, I understand that, but that means you don't agree. You don't agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree because I got families on that party that they want to balkanize.
Okay.
How we gonna be? How we gonna be? So we are not like Sudanese. The Sudanese, if they wanted their country to be balkanized, but not to us, we don't want it.
Okay.
This thing here, we don't want either. So the last thing that I want to say, the African leaders is not only in South Africa or in DRC, they are not take care about their population. It's all over the continent. It's all over the continent.
Yeah,
that is the crisis that we have today.
The results are there to show. I concur, sadly so. Tati, thank you for that. Let's get to some other comments. The topical issue of John Steenhuisen.
Ashraf, good afternoon. Flores from a beautiful winelands. I don't think that John Vulligate is going to go down without a fight. Yeah. Jordan Hill-Lewis literally put his foot in John's mouth. That's not a joke, even though it sounds like it. But yeah, John Woolligate, yeah, the door has been slammed in his face, been demoted. Have a good job, bye-bye.
No, you're trying your hand at stand-up comedy, I see.
Good morning, Ashraf. Ashraf, did I hear Vincent Mangwenya correctly when he said that President Ramaphosa will still have to apply his mind on the John Steinhuisen matter? What is there to apply a mind on? John Steinhuisen was brought to the GNU or to that coalition by the Democratic Alliance. Therefore, it's their prerogative to recall him again. Ramaphosa likes playing delaying tactics, even unnecessarily so.
Well, I mean, you can't blame the president for that. I think what you're asking is, does it need to be ratified? And maybe I'll just get a confirmation from Keys, my producer, to say, what did Vincent Mangwenya actually say? Hold on to that thought. It's 4:30. Here's the news headlines with Ondela.
You can become...
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, judgment has been reserved in the matter between Mkhondo's Sizwe Party and the Electoral Commission at the Electoral Court in Johannesburg. Malawian diplomats have raised concerns over rising numbers of migrants seeking assistance at Durban's Sherwood Hall transit site, fearing some may be exploiting the repatriation program. And Ghana is hosting a major conference on repatriatory justice following a landmark UN resolution recognizing the trafficking and enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Rose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Top traffic stories this Wednesday. Crash on the M1 South in Joburg, just around the William Mandela exit. Traffic parking back through Rivonia and working back towards the Buccleuch interchange. Doesn't look too bad up through Midrand and Pretoria today. Busy but generally moving. Here's a big one. Durban, the M7 closed. Coming out of Point Town, driving eastbound towards the Bluff. There's a tanker fire incident. The tanker's cab is on fire just by the main road exit, just after Hans Detman. So the M7 closed. Traffic backlogging through that area. If you need to avoid it, come out of Pinetown, use the N3, N2 South, and then hook into the M7 that way. Also, quite a heavy queue on the N3 outbound to Pavilion, and a crash and a breakdown around Spaghetti Junction means the N2 North is quite badly backed out coming from the M7 up through towards the roadworks at Westwood Mall. Some roadworks as well on Umgere Road outbound just after the stadium. If you're heading up towards sort of Connaught Bridge and Chris Harley Road, that is quite slow going. Breakdown still with us, bottom end of the Pietermaritzburg bypass before Market Road. That is quite a heavy backlog of traffic onto that bypass if you are Durban bound today. Cape Town, roadworks on Tygerberg Road near Diaria. That's a long queue to get into Durbanville. Queue's almost back as far as Hillcrest. And there's a closure of Sponsormuck Road in Constantia between Constantia Main and Ladies Mile. So motorists stuck on Constantia Main having to divert down to Ladies Mile and loop around that closure. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
To me, I'm sure we're going to talk about the Cristiano Ronaldo response just now to Lionel Messi's hat-trick. But let's start with the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus believes that Saturday's match against the Barbarians presents an important opportunity to build squad depth. This is ahead of the 2026 season, with several players unavailable to injuries and the Bulls' involvement in the United Rugby Championship final. Erasmus has used the occasion to test several combinations. One of the more notable selections is utility back Quan Horn, who has been named at fly half, and Erasmus says that the coaching staff are keen to see how Horn adapts to the role as they continue to strengthen their options in a key position.
I think what he does for the Lions, maybe there's not a 10 on his back, but he certainly comes into the mix a lot at 10, at first receiver. And we've been working with him now for 3 years at training sessions, and we just like the way he takes the ball to the line. You know, he's an awesome defender. He's got a really great pass, and he's not bang. You know, he's not a guy that's afraid for if somebody runs into that channel. And I think we're lucky with having guys like Sasha. I mean, Mani, people look at his size. He's an awesome defender. And then the same with Andre. So we'd like to keep it the same. Vusi is also a great defender. So yeah, I think it is going to be a little bit new for him to start on 10, but he does it a hell of a lot in his franchise.
After the World Cup, Thomas Partey will miss Ghana's World Cup opener against Panama. This is after not telling officials in Canada the truth, saying that he had never been arrested or charged with a crime. The 33-year-old was denied entry to Canada before today's match in Toronto because of ongoing criminal proceedings in the UK. The Ghanaian government asked for permission for him to enter the country briefly to take part in the game, but the appeal was rejected at a federal court. In the meantime, the FIFA World Cup 2026 has exploded into life with record-breaking audiences across all three host nations. More than 54 million viewers in Canada, Mexico, and the United States tuned in for their country's opening matches, while over 1 million fans have already attended games inside the stadiums. FIFA President Gianni Infantino called the numbers historic, noting that the USA's win over Paraguay became the most watched World Cup match ever broadcast in the United States, drawing an average of 27.5 million viewers. Now, Mexico also posted extraordinary figures with 23.4 million viewers watching their opener, the country's most watched World Cup match of the 21st century, capturing a massive 72% market share. Elsewhere, Real Madrid have announced the signing of Bernardo Silva for 2 years on a free transfer after he left Manchester City. Silva left City after 9 trophy-laden years when the 31-year-old's contract expired at the end of last season. He made 459 appearances for Manchester City in total, scoring 76 goals since joining from Monaco back in 2017. In cricket, Proteas captain Laura Fulvard will play her 100th T20 international match against Pakistan during the 2026 ICC Women's T20 World Cup. By achieving this milestone, she becomes just the 6th South African woman to reach a century of T20 caps, while Sunay Lees will make her 300th international match game at the Women's T20 Global Showpiece. Anything's off with golf. Bryson DeChambeau heads into the US Open in an unusual position, no longer among the pre-tournament favorites after a turbulent start to the year. The two-time US Open champion has missed the cut at both majors this season, a sharp contrast to his 6 top 10 finishes and back-to-back runner-up results at the PGA Championship over the previous 2 years. Now, DeChambeau has continued to shine on the LIV Golf circuit, winning twice in 2026, but arrives in Shinnecock Hills with uncertainty surrounding both his long-term future and the league's search for new investment. He'll be hoping the US Open stage can spark a return to major contending form. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Thanks for that, Tumi. Now, here's my big challenge. So, what is it? I think there's an England-Croatia game later today, but before that, the Portuguese will be in action. And knowing Ronaldo versus Messi, if Messi got a hat-trick, I'm sure Ronaldo will have a lot more than 3 points on his mind. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental dispute, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Lava breaks through once more.
They are relentless in their pursuit of a maiden World Cup title. They are carried by the nation, and they are unbreakable. Get behind Laura Wolfhard and her team as they compete in the 2026 ICC Women's T20 World Cup in England and Wales from 12 June to 15 July. Watch Shabneel Ismail, Marizan Cup, Ayabonga Kaka and company raise the game to new heights. Find out all you need to know at cricket.coza.
In case you missed it.
Sakan, I am worried now. Why is Coach Hugo Bruce sounding the alarm around Bafana's mentality and their energy in the camp? They need to be high. It's too early in the day to be disappointed.
Jamaica and high. There we go. That's where we want to be, guys. But you know what, Kathy?
It's Monday morning.
Well, Kathy, Bruce is definitely not high at the moment. He's in the investigate first and arrest later camp, okay?
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Right, SAFM invites you to experience the excitement, passion, and national pride as Bafana Bafana takes on Czechia, which is the former Czech Republic, in case you're confused. That happens tomorrow from 5 p.m. The kickoff itself is 6 p.m. Now, we say that because you can join your favorite SAFM presenters at this big fan gathering at the SABC Radio Park Building ground floor auditorium. That's in Joburg, right? To stand a chance of winning the double ticket, you can go to any of the SAFM social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, X, and the SAFM website. Put in your name, surname, contact number, +1 name and surname, and the email address. And then wear your Bafana Bafana jersey to show your support. Naturally, being Joburg-based and the time conditions, you have to be Gauteng-based. Terms and conditions apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And by the way, talking about economics, so for that reason, we'll end this show normal at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Then we have an hour of the markets in the build-up to that big Bafana Bafana game. Okay, but let's talk about the markets now. Paswane and Patlele with me. You got news about Vukile Properties, right?
Yes, afternoon, Ashraf and to all your listeners. Yeah, these are the guys that manage the retail malls we've seen mostly tilted within the township areas. They reported on good results supported by increased property values. The balance sheet is improving. You look at the funds from their operations up 9%, supported by the South African portfolio, like for like, showing up 10%. The Spanish portfolio is also doing well. The malls are well occupied and they are renewing leases with higher rentals. And this is just indicating with trading density up, indicating that even the clients are enjoying more selling of more goods as trading density is up. Costs are well managed within the business, and they've shared a higher dividend up 9%. And they expect similar growth outlook going forward as they expand into Italy. When we look at the market, South African inflation rose to 4.5% in May, and it's driven more by the fuel and electricity tariff hitting consumers' pockets. But this is not broad-based, Ashraf. It's excluding, when you exclude the likes of the fuel shock, it's around 3.8. It's talking still that we still have a sluggish domestic demand. Food inflation is still coming down, and it's supported by the retail sales data that pointed to a sluggish growth of 1.3% as consumer spending is still more selective towards durable goods and supported by credit. From a market perspective, it signals that South African Bank should be considering being cautious about talking about future rate hikes, as we see the likes of sustainably lower oil prices are in play below $90. Yesterday, it rebounded by 1.4% at $80.50 a barrel. That's at the back of Trump's comments at the G7 about going back to bombing if they don't sign a deal by Friday. And generally, oil prices are bearish and they are reducing those inflation fears. And this is happening at the time where I knew U.S. Fed would be making an interest rate decision later, expected to be a hold. More importantly, this outlook in terms of growth and inflation from the perspective of bond volatility, the yield of the dollar is priced to him to being hawkish on the margin, and this is helping cap the likes of gold price momentum, just gaining up 0.3%. However, importantly, it's turned back to bullish and it trades above a key trade level, sitting right now at $4,345 an ounce, and it's showing higher lows. When you look at the equity volatility, it is low. It's allowing the buy the dip mentality to play through. We see the U.S. markets open flat with the Dow only up 0.4. Europe is generally flat. Dow affects the FTSE and the DAX down 0.2. Locally, we are seeing that those short sellers are being squeezed out with the SA trade coming back up. We see JSS up 0.7%, led by financials up 1.8%, resource sectors up 1.4%, industrials just down 0.6%. When we look at the currencies, relatively flat going into this interest rate decision by the US. Rand against the dollar 16 rand 17, rand against the euro 18.75, and rand against the pound 21 rand 68 cents.
Got all of that, Paswane. Thanks for that. We have an hour of the markets coming up today, 6 to 7.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, what we must do on the National Pulse is respond to your feelings, to your pulse rate. We've had that call about what did Vincent Magwenya say. So the presidential spokesperson said this regarding, let's call it the DA cabinet reshuffle.
We can confirm that President Ramaphosa has received a request from the leader of the Democratic Alliance regarding changes to the National Executive affecting members of the Democratic Alliance. The President will apply his mind and an announcement will be made in due course.
Okay, it's an interesting one. I mean, is he going through the processes about the announcement will be made in due course? From the DA perspective, I mean, they've issued a statement. It's a done deal. So what do you make between the DA statement and the president will apply his mind and will make the announcement in due course? There's a gap between the two. I wonder what you make of that. Okay, let's get to your thoughts, right? Here's an interesting one because we touched on it, the Malawians.
Ashraf, most of the time I have a very big problem with your reasoning. Big one. The guy is telling you that the foreigners were throwing stones at the police. What you are saying is no, it's not only foreigners who are doing that, even South Africans are doing that. We are not talking about something that is happening yesterday or when. This thing's happening now, today. You are talking about things that happened last week. You are talking about things that are happening now. And those two people are illegally. Even the South Africa are doing that, they are South Africans.
Okay, let me respond again to your response to me, right? I actually said what they did is unacceptable. And I know a lot has been made about the fact that these are foreign nationals storming the police, and we're not doubting or denying that, to say that's what's happened, and I said it's unacceptable. I've also said it's not just foreigners who do that. There are many South Africans who do that. And I think why I'm saying that is the ongoing narrative that it's only foreigners who actually break the rules. So when others storm the police and sometimes even hijack police cars and things, many of them could well be South African nationals. So I'm saying to you, and I've said this, they are unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And I hope you got that.
Ashraf, it's Arif in Cape Town. No, the constitutions that we have now, if you try to trace it, it was designed, made by the belligerent.
Right, something's gone.
People who were trying to share power and control the DRC. There is even some article which says we can even abandon our sovereignty and give it to other nations. So there is a reason majority of people want this constitution to be changed.
You're talking of the DRC now, the majority want it to be changed. But I mean, how do you know that the majority wants it to be changed? I know the guest we had speaking about it is very, very clear in terms of his opposition to the leadership of the DRC. And I think we need to understand that. We're talking about David Matsanga. But how do you know that the majority wants it to be changed?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ashraf. You see that guy who is talking there right now? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Congo is going toward a very good direction. The constitution of Congo allows foreigners. For instance, Congo was led by someone from Rwanda for 18 years. So they are trying to close that gap, and he's talking about whatever he's talking. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Thank you.
Okay, critical of David Matsanga. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and SAfm listeners. Tell me, Ashraf, are this African Union not worried about their position there as the African Union? When the president comes in and just change the constitution to favor him, are they not worried that they are not doing the right thing? You know, Philip Tshisekedi wants to change the constitution now to stay in office. That is ridiculous. What is the African Union doing about all these things? I'm worried about what is going on in Africa. Mnangagwa is changing it. Come on. It's Marumo Yen Maike.
Thanks for that, Marumo. Listen, well, I mean, they've been quiet on a lot of things, but sometimes pronouncing, but not effectively following through on their pronouncements. I mean, I was part of a webinar yesterday on Tunisia, and again, you know, they moved from autocracy to Arab Spring to democracy, and that got changed with now an autocrat in charge. And again, the best we could hear was the AU pronouncing but not following through. It seems to be quite a normal situation. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You know how politics of South Africa
are so cruel. Once you lose the conference, you know you are out of the parliament. You are already out. What is happening in the A? I'm not surprised because it's always happened at a party like ANC. Thanks so much, Ashraf. This is Chipan Masamala from Mukurano, originally Popa Kasikune.
Thanks. But I think you're just right. Once you lose that leadership within your caucus or your Congress, you've gone. I mean, who does that? I mean, it's happened even within the ANC, for example. I'm talking about, say, Thabo Mbeki, and we know all about that. Your history.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to my fellow listeners. Ashraf, my one way to describe Gordon Hill Lewis' request to remove John Steenhuisen as the Minister of Agriculture is shocked. Wow, I'm shocked. I didn't see this one coming. But I think also it's because of the farmers were not happy with John's handling of the foot and mouth disease. They were absolutely not happy with his leadership. They were simply saying the vaccination drive was not going well and fast enough. This is Tepo in Bramfisher. Many thanks for the show.
Thank you. Well, you're like the correspondent from Brownfish. So when people call in, you are not just a caller, you are our local correspondent in that region. But I mean, yeah, I think it's no surprise. It really is no surprise, isn't it? Once he lost the leadership, he was gone. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I'm Sweden and welcome to Rulin. Both the warlords of the world, America and Russia, have been exposed by the smallest countries in terms of war, Ukraine and Iran. As for America, it will never again go around the world intimidating and threatening other countries with wars and even attacking them, because Iran has totally exposed them as to how to fight with them, because America doesn't directly fight. It uses the other countries around its target enemy. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, anybody wants to comment on that ceasefire? We chatted to Naeem Jina about it 2 days ago. You can catch the podcast of that. Then finally the actual terms have come out, and it seems like the Israelis are not happy at all. You want to talk about it? Let's do that.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental dispute, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Oh, yeah, Club Soweto. In 1976, youth switch on, and for 50 years, the nation has watched as the story unfolds. And namhlanje, courage looks the same and different. It looks like showing up when no one believes in you. It's about finding the strength to stand up again. The courage of 1976 is a pillar in 2026. SAPC 1, Zanzi for sure. The source of youth courage. My God.
Well, make a note of this. The Drakes, they return to the Mandela stage at the Joburg Theatre with the Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City 2026. That goes on from today up to the 20th of June. Now, the 4-day musical showcase promises a vibrant, genre-spanning celebration of community heritage and global musical exchange. And then just note this, right? Wednesday night, Thursday nights, some of Gauteng's best school choirs join the Drakes on stage. And then on Friday, the 19th, the internationally acclaimed Minnesota Boys Choir from the USA, together with the UJ Choir, join up for their special collaboration. Then, the Drakensberg Boys Choir gala concert happens on Saturday, the 20th. And as you can see, it's a spectacular closing to that festival expected. So how do you book? Well, get to the website, www.dbchoir.com. dbchoir.com.
Thought Leadership Conversations on the National Pulse.
Well, we certainly try and do this at least once a week, speak to a thought leader to talk about an issue and find solutions perhaps to some of the most vexing issues in our country and globally as well. With me today is Dr. Shaheem Patel, who's the Academic Dean at the Regent Business School. Shaheem, much appreciate you joining us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you, Ashraf. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Now, the key factor, and I see it in terms of your thought leader piece, is yes, we achieved political emancipation or freedom a long, long time ago. Economic is lagging far, far behind. And the question is, why and how do we fix it?
Yeah, there's a lot to say and why and how do we fix it. I don't think there's a single answer to that, but there's certainly a serious conversation that we must initiate. And I think the starting point, or the point of departure for that conversation, is around how do we convert political freedom that we already have and enjoy to economic freedom. And economic freedom is simply a gateway into a whole dispensation of opportunity. In and of itself, it's not the destination. It's actually part of the journey. And on the other side of the door of economic freedom, our young people need to have clear pathways to be successful and prosperous in South Africa.
And that how too, do you have any thoughts in terms of where you sit as the head of a business school in terms of the how?
The how, for me, you have to examine it through the perspective of multiple stakeholders. And the key stakeholders here are students themselves or young people themselves. Because the history of 1976 and other eras of youth uprisings, if you like, were led by people themselves who were suffering from visible enemies, if you like, tangible enemies. And they chose to take on a tangible fight to break down those enemies. And so I think that the first stakeholder that ought to be helping solve this problem is young people themselves, and they need to make their voices heard. I think they do make their voices heard. They can always do more to make it heard more loudly. That's one. So how do they do that? They need to use social media, and they need to, advocacy. They need to get into spaces that make their voice amplified in the rooms and the spaces that matter. And one of those rooms and spaces that matter is in the sphere of government, which is the second stakeholder. And I think clear policies from the government would certainly help. I know they've done a lot. There's a lot more that can be done. Beyond policy, we need to get to practice, and the government has a role to play there as well. So how do we take the dream or the notion that education in and of itself is your ticket to the ballroom, if you like? It's not your ticket to the ballroom. Actually, it's only getting you to the front lawn. So meaningfully making sure that youth have opportunities and avenues to prosper. The last stakeholder, in and amongst many others, would be business. And I think business, and in particular big business, have a responsibility to the country and to its youth to ensure that they are extending a hand of friendship and saying, come into our spaces, come and see what it's like working in our industries. Let opportunity arise from within, rather than us simply putting out adverts and saying, here's a job opportunity, come and apply. And you know that you've excluded the large proportion of youth in that respect anyway. So it's a change of approach, I think, from big business from within rather than from the side.
Interesting you say that. Yesterday the president at the Youth Day commemoration made the point about opening spaces for young people, and even those who are inexperienced, don't wait for them to be experienced, give them jobs. But practically, how do you do that? Let's say in your space, how do you appoint a young person to to lecture when they've never lectured before?
The example of lecturing is slightly more nuanced, because you need a particular level of qualification to teach or to lecture in a particular class. So the example is a little bit nuanced. But if I can speak more generically, and what we try and do to enable employability for our students, we extend our hand to big business, and we're saying, come and join us. Help us to co-create our curricula and tell us what you want young people to be learning about, so that when they walk out of our doors from an education perspective into a work environment, they are plug and play ready to add value to your institution, your organization, and your sector. So that closer proximity between business and academia must be pursued aggressively. We can't afford to be living in a vacuum as an education institution. So that's practically one point. Number two, we also try and make the learning journey itself very much aligned to what a typical day in the life of a professional would be like. So we simulate the work environment. We make sure that we examine students in a way that they would be examined in a workplace, rather than doing the typical exams that one would ordinarily expect, where you consult a textbook, study as hard as you can, try and remember, and then regurgitate in an exam. We're trying to make sure that you practically show us that you are ready for the world of work. So those are some of the initiatives that we try and push at Regent Business School as a way of transforming education, number one, but number two, meaningfully opening up employability opportunities for students.
Yeah, that part of employability is important, because does it say, and very quickly on this one here, that whereas education is important, and you made the point about being on this journey to get you to the lawn, maybe there's a question mark about the type of education that we are imparting.
Absolutely. And, we started talking about this idea of teaching different things differently, because we recognize that education systems of the past, and be honest about it, it's a candid conversation. Those education systems, many parts of it are broken, and they're not fit for purpose in 2026. So we're trying to break down the parts of our education system that simply don't work any longer and trying to build up something new. Part of that means a lot of experimentation. It also means getting things wrong sometimes, but we're okay with that. And if we can take enough people with us on their journey and try and get enough perspective to help us get it right rather than get it wrong, I think we'll be doing well in that regard, Ashraf.
All right, just lastly, we're on to news time. So there's a young person who's unemployed, and there are many in that category hoping for hope, hoping someone can offer them a hand. What could they practically do right now to change their destiny?
It's a tough one. It really is a tough one because, at the level of each individual, they'd like a personalized answer to that question. Somebody sitting at home somewhere saying, well, okay, should I Google something or should I go to a particular government institution or department and ask for help? I think you should do all of those things. I think you should be on the internet and you should be looking out. There are opportunities out there. There are opportunities for internships and learnerships and the like. You should consult your public sector officials and organizations. But I think chief amongst all of those things, use your voice to show that you can add value. So people are watching you online and you don't know which person or which organization catches something that you might be talking about, writing about, and so forth. And that is the actual new avenue that you can pursue to find meaningful employment.
Make connections and make sure you are visible. I think that's the bottom line to all of that. Dr. Shaheen Patel, Academic Dean at the Regent Business School. Much appreciate your time here with that thought leader conversation. Reaction from you? Well, let me invite you on that one. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg.
Thank you, Ashraf. Judgment reserved in MK Party's election case and a major jump in inflation. Good day to you. Judgment's been reserved in the matter between the MK Party and the IEC at the Electoral Court in Johannesburg. The MK Party and its heads of argument allege that technical glitches that occurred with the IEC leaderboard system were because the Commission manipulated the system when the dashboard went offline, alleging vote rigging. The Electoral Commission in turn argued that the MK Party had not provided any substance to back up its allegations. The Commission's Simon Mabolo.
No, look, credibility, it's an important premium in the electoral process, which is why we've insisted that the matter be heard so that it can be determined judiciously on the basis of evidence and not some atmospheric attacks against each other. Those will not serve our democracy well.
Malawian diplomats have raised concern over the rising number of migrants seeking assistance at Durban Sherwood Hall transit site, fearing some may be exploiting the repatriation program. Tensions flared today after some migrants reportedly clashed with immigration officers. Others voiced frustration over delays in the transportation arrangements. Malawian official Adam Ali.
And our government too is trying all the best to put more buses so that we have to try as soon as possible to clear this place. The place is not cleared because some of us still heaping here. That's the problem which we're having. And I even asked the councillor to say that, can we close this camp? Those who are coming, they must direct to another place so that we must know what are we doing. Because at the end of the day, people, they will be piling. If we take 1,000 people today, then the following days, another 1,000 is coming.
Meanwhile, KwaZulu-Natal Home Affairs official Cyril Nkwabe says authorities are working with the police and the Malawian government to restore order at the site.
We have had a meeting with the police. This place is going to be cordoned off as today, cordoned off. Where that is the measure we're trying to put in place to cordon this place. Anybody that is not in the site at the time of the cordoning is not going to be allowed to come here because we are having that kind of a serious challenge. Once we have cordoned this place, the other place that we are coming up with is also a place where access is going to be controlled. So that is what we have agreed with the Malawian government.
Economists say the jump in inflation to 4.5% year-on-year in May, its highest level since 2024, is being driven mainly by surging global oil prices and domestic fuel hikes. Chief economist Annabelle Bishop.
May CPI inflation jumped to 4.5% from 4%, with ongoing inflationary effects from the second month of diesel and price hikes on the oil price drop of the Middle East. Remember, this inflation is for the month of May, and that's when we saw another tranche of large fuel price hikes. Indeed, as we actually have a look at the inflation figures going forwards, there's yet another petrol price increase to come through in June of R1.43 per litre, which will push CPI inflation nearer to 5%.
Ghana is hosting a major conference on reparatory justice following a landmark UN resolution recognising that trafficking and enslavement of Africans is the gravest crime against humanity. Leaders, historians and legal experts from more than 80 countries are meeting in Accra. The top story is the judgment has been reserved in the matter between the MK party and the IEC at the Electoral Court in Johannesburg. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
In sports this hour, Portugal all set for Congo. Proteas women aim to put World Cup campaign back on track, and Erasmus uses Barbarians clash to expand Springbok depth. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Two big traffic lights out in Joburg. One is Republic and Jan Smuts. That's heavy, turning in from Willie Mandela on your way slowly to Randburg today. And Grayston and Linden is offline with queues from Rivonia Road. Also Grayston, Mike 1 offline as well. Crash on the Mike 1 south at Crown. That's pushing a queue all the way back in towards the Houghton Estate area. Durban, the M7 closed towards the Bluff. If you're coming out of Pinetown, you can't get through the North Dean area. Quite a backlog of traffic into that closure. That's a tanker cab that was on fire earlier today. Full closure. Very heavy. Avoid it. Take the N3, N2 south through Spaghetti Junction, M7 towards the Bluff to complete your journey. Umgeda Road has some roadworks between Connaught Bridge and the stadium causing delays. And the N3 outbound sitting currently from Sherwood through the Pavilion Mall heading out to Pinetown. And if you're coming out of Pietermaritzburg, a breakdown bottom of the Pietermaritzburg bypass, pushing a queue almost back as far as Chotamotala today. Cape Town, if you're on that back road to Durbanville, the Tygerberg Road, that's heavy from Richwood all the way through. Crash scenes near Hillcrest, near Bloomingdale, and roadworks at Diaria as well. Also, Victoria Road with some roadworks causing delays both ways, particularly southbound between Buckoven and Hout Bay, Llandudno. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, listen, keep the reactions coming. Reaction in terms of the DA story, in terms of the DA reshuffle, the cabinet reshuffle, and it's not just one person, it's multiple, so it's wholesale, number one. What do you make of that? B, the point that it appears that they've made the call, and the president, according to when we last heard, will still reflect on it and actually come back with an actual answer. What do you make of that? I mean, for most of us, it's like a done deal, isn't it? You could also comment on the DRC, because that's another important issue that we've touched on, which I think is very, very important as well. And then there's also been trade unions who've commented and who've been saying lots of things around the issues of South Africa's migrant crisis. So organised labour issuing a statement talking about just that, and amongst the points about which I can't read it all, but I mean I'll just say this much: the organised labour that includes COSATU, FEDUSA, NACTU and SAFTU, making the point that they've convened a media briefing. They recognise, and I'm reading, the deep frustration of millions of South Africans facing unemployment, poverty, inequality, crime and deteriorating public services. These are real and legitimate grievances. However, South Africa's economic crisis was not created by migrants. It is rooted in economic stagnation, deindustrialization, mass unemployment, corruption, austerity, weak governance, and the failure to build an economy that serves the majority. And then saying migrants must not be made scapegoats for failures. There's more. That's just some part of that statement. What we're going to talk about is the South African Legal Workers Union. They've taken strike action. We'll find out why next.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Mavis, I wonder if I should sell my car. I'm not sure where to go.
Wanna sell your car, but don't know what to do. You don't have to go far, we come to you. If you're rolling on a 1.5 or a Lacquer 2.2, doesn't matter what you drive, we buy cars once you.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Life isn't only about what happens around us, it's also about what happens within us. Join SAfm for Reflections from this Sunday on The Alternative Breakfast, a weekly space for thoughtful conversations about life, purpose, relationships, and the human experience. Different voices, fresh perspectives, practical wisdom. Because sometimes the most important conversations are the ones that help us understand ourselves and each other. Reflections about life, meaning, and the ties that bind us. Only on SAfM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
By the way, having read out that statement from the four labor union federations, right, on the South Africa's migration or immigrant problems, Tebogo Gasten replying by a tweet, I thought I'll read it out, saying, I never thought the labor movement could be this tone deaf. These protests are not anti-migrant, they are directed at illegal immigration. The moment you misdiagnose the issue, you lose sight of the real problem and end up missing the forest for the trees. Then again, perhaps this is unsurprising. The labour movement has been increasingly out of touch with public sentiment and largely irrelevant to these debates for years. Agree or not agree? Let's talk about another issue. Members of the South African Legal Workers Union, that's SALAW, have embarked on a 2-day nationwide protest action. They've been picketing outside the Legal Aid South Africa offices in Braamfontein, Joburg, of what they describe as deteriorating working conditions and a lack of resources. Let's find out more with the spokesperson for the South African Legal Workers Union, Michael Motaung. Michael, appreciate you joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you for having me and the listeners.
Thank you. Tell us more about what led to the frustrations that prompted the strike.
Yes, the issues are coming back from 2019. But let me just clarify this aspect. Today we embarked on, we picketed at National Aid House in Braamfontein. So there were other of our colleagues who were in Parliament in Cape Town. There were also other colleagues outside Mthatha Court who were demonstrating outside Mthatha Court. So basically, Legal Aid as you know, that it's the biggest law firm. We are nationwide. So now then all our members, they decided to withdraw the services today. So basically, the issues about the budget cuts. As you know, that the Legal Aid, we get our budget from the taxpayers, from the government. So now then the budget that we get from the government has been decreasing each and every year. So now then this will result into the shortage of staff, where the positions will be frozen. I'll give you an example. Now each and every year, I won't say each and every year, but we have candidate legal practitioners. Legal Aid is a law firm. Young women, young men from the university, they need to apply for articles of clerkship for a period of 2 years, where we train them so they can become the attorneys. So those positions are frozen because of the budget cuts. So in other words, we are depriving the young women, young men of the opportunity to enter the legal field. So as a union, you cannot sit down and just say, no, it's fine with it. No, we can't say that. We are saying that no, that cannot happen. So now then, the issue of budget cuts will lead to one practitioner having to cover, because in the criminal matters we work with one practitioner per court model. You'll find a legal practitioner in particular court. So now then, If there is no position there, you'll find another practitioner from another court will have to run between the two courts. And yet the National Prosecuting Authority will have about 2 or 3 prosecutors in one court.
I hear that.
So now then,
yeah.
then this stretches our practitioners. So now that will result in a quality, that will compromise the quality legal services. So we are saying no, that cannot happen.
All right. What in terms of therefore, like today, once the strike action took place, right? Has there been engagement then with Legal Aid South Africa? Because your point already they made, there's budget cuts, which, to be honest with you, right or wrong, we can hear that like over 100 different departments in South Africa. It's like, we don't have the money.
Yes. Remember that we are getting from our budget is coming from Department of Justice. So now if we say that from all the other departments, we are saying you cannot just give more to the NPA. And because NPA is our competitor, in other words, we are working with NPA. You can have as much as prosecutors in court, but you won't have the defense lawyers who are going to represent the interests of the poor people, the people who are also. So now then, there is no point of giving more to the NPA and not giving to the legal aid. And by the way, let me just give something else. Legal aid, we are not only dealing with the criminal matters, we also deal with the civil matters. So now then, in the past, we have been expanding the business plan, the coverage of the types of matters that we are dealing with. In the past, we were not doing the estate matters, but we end up covering estate matters, doing estate matters. Recently, the land matters were under the Department of Rural Development. Legal aid, well, they brought those matters to legal aid, but at the same time, they are cutting more on the resources. So now then, the resource is not only about the human capital, it's also about we need the papers to make the copies. We need to do this, to draft the paper, to draft. We need to the laptops. We need this, all those things. So now it will come back to where the members of the public will just say, legal aid is not delivering.
All right.
We'll come back and say, legal aid are delivering the low standards.
Okay, I hear you. What happens next?
We are saying tomorrow we'll be going to Pretoria to hand a memorandum to Department of Justice. So we are giving them 14 days to say to them, look, you need to meet our demands, failing which we will down tools indefinitely, but we'll consult with our members and take instructions from there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand another issue, which may not be top of the agenda, is the issue of retirement age being reduced. What's your position on that?
Yes, the issue of retirement. It was, remember that we in the cluster. We talk about Department of Justice. We talk about the NPA. We talk about the judiciary. NPA, the retirement is 65. Judiciary, I'm talking about the judges, is 70 years. But legal aid, it was decided in the past to reduce our retirement age from 65 to 60. So now then, we have been engaging with the management about that. So in 2024, there was a slight of a breakthrough where we said, okay, fine, they will amend the terms and conditions, meaning to go back to 65. So that terms and conditions were sent to the Minister of Justice, just to pen the signature, to accept it. So it has been accumulating dust in the office of the Minister of Justice without signing it.
And
so
the reason, what has been the official reason why it's been accumulating dust?
Well, we wrote letters to the Minister of Justice. There's no answer. We wrote letter to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee in Parliament to say that, look, the Minister, this was sent, Minister is not doing anything. They are not responding. Meaning all this, I'm talking about the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the Minister of Justice. When we write letters to them, they don't even acknowledge the receipt of those letters. So what we are left with, we are saying that, no, now, let's go now on the street. Probably they can hear us better if we are on the street.
Okay. On the street is what you are doing right now. Michael Motaung, spokesperson for the South African Legal Workers Union. I wonder what you listening in make of all of this. I mean, there's a whole range of demands, and central to that is we don't have the budget, although they claim that the NPA legal practitioners get more money, and in fact they're in competition with each other. Issues of retirement age reduced, laying in dust for it to be upgraded. another big concern. But there could be many other issues you may want to touch on. Your thoughts welcome on this issue here. This is the National Pulse.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Get into the beautiful game and save like a super fan at Spar with products like 2 kg Spar brown sugar for $39.99. Save 10 Rand. Or 2 litre Spar extra shelf life milk, full cream or low fat for $31.99. Save 5 Rand. Price is valid from 8 till 21 June. While stocks last, only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Right, you know there's a big game on tomorrow, right? It's Bafana against Czechia. It happens at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So first things first, this show will end tomorrow 5 p.m. because we have a 1 hour of the markets which will be brought forward early so that you can catch the markets before we get to the business of that Bafana game, which starts at exactly 6 o'clock. So that's the first thing. Number two, SAFM invites you to experience the excitement, passion and national pride as Bafana takes on Czechia, and you can join in with your favorite SAFM presenters, some of them I think, tomorrow at the SABC Radio Park Building ground floor auditorium. To do that, you have a chance to win a double ticket. Provide the following details on the competition form link on multiple SAFM social media pages, including Facebook, Instagram, X and the SAFM website. Then put on your name, surname, contact number, and then your +1 together with your email address, and then wear your Bafana jersey to show your support. Of course, you have to be Gauteng based because it's very quick. It happens tomorrow. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Interesting, Mbazima Shalowa tweeting about the issue of the portfolios, which I think is worth repeating. He says, it's not that complicated. The parties agreed on portfolios. The party decides on individuals to fill the post. The president can fire them like he did with Andrew, referring to, the previous DA deputy, but he asked ADA to give him another name. Well, asked the DA to give another name. Party can then pull its deployee and ask the president to substitute. Simple. Got it? Okay. Let's talk about another issue which is not so simple. South Africa's annual consumer inflation accelerated supply to increased now to 4.5% in May, its highest level in 22 months. This linked to huge inflationary numbers, and let's find out more about it with Patrick Kelly, Chief Director for Price Statistics at Stats SA. Patrick, appreciate you joining us on the National Pulse. In fact, we'll get to that just now. What we're going to do, in fact, what we'll do this. Here's a clip in terms of the conversation that Patrick Kelly pronounced on, just to explain these changes that you need to make a note of.
Consumer inflation jumped to 4.5% in May from 4% in April. This is the highest rate of increase since July 2024, when it was 4.6%. The inflation surge was largely driven by fuel price increases. The fuel index recorded its second consecutive large monthly increase, leaping by 14.3% to reach an annual rise of 28.7%. Over the past 12 months, prices for petrol increased by 24.8% and diesel by 53.8%. The impact of higher fuel prices on overall inflation can be seen by looking at the index for the CPI excluding fuel. This index's annual change was 3.7% in May, the same as the previous month. This measure has moved in a narrow range between 3.5% and 3.8% over the past 12 months. The monthly increase was 0.2% in May compared to the overall CPI, which increased by 0.7% between April and May. Inflation for food and non-alcoholic beverages continues to subside, declining to 1.9% from 2.9% in April. By comparison, this is down from the recent peak of 5.7% recorded in July 2025. Annual deflation for cereal products deepened, dropping to negative 1.4% from negative 1.2% in April. Maize meal is 4.4% and brown bread 0.3% cheaper than a year ago. Meat inflation cooled in May, recording an annual increase of 7.3% compared with April's 9.4%. The monthly rate was negative 0.8%. Stewing beef prices dropped by 3% and beef mince by 2.4% between April and May. The annual increase for these two products was 2.8% and 10.6% respectively. Inflation for IQF frozen chicken portions also decelerated, declining to 6.7% in May from 7.3% in April. Prices for fruits and nuts and vegetables are lower than a year ago, at negative 8.5% and negative 6% respectively. Both categories have been in deflationary territory since October 2025. The annual rate for milk, other dairy products and eggs category increased to 0.9% from 0.1% in April. Several products recorded high monthly increases, including full cream long life milk, up by 1.7%, low-fat fresh milk higher by 1.5%, and cheddar cheese up by 1.5%. Annual inflation for the other food category rose to 4.9% from 4.1% in April. Products with large movements include salad dressing, which rose by 2.3% between April and May, and by 10% over the past 12 months, and mayonnaise, which witnessed a monthly increase of 2.2% and an annual rise of 8.1%. Salt jumped by 2.5% month-on-month and 9.3% year-on-year. Non-alcoholic beverages also experienced higher inflation rates, increasing to 4.9% from 4.6% in April. The annual rate for black tea rose to 8.3% from 7.8% in April. Rooibos tea increased to 7.5% from 5.2% the month before. For more information on the Consumer Price Index, please visit our website at www.statsa.gov.za.
That's the voice of Patrick Kelly, Chief Director for Price Statistics at Stats SA. Right, time for me to pick up further comments from you, and I appreciate the range of opinions that we're getting. Some of it, you and I concur, and others, of course, we disagree. But debating is important, and I think perhaps more so now on a range of issues that impacts the psyche of the nation than at any other time. Here's one about John Steenhuisen.
Hi, good day, Ashraf. Anonymous here from the Western Cape. I think this is all to do with the white Afrikaner vote. Remember, I think John Steenhuisen, he kind of got the whole virus and this vaccine for the livestock issue. He got it totally wrong. So, in order to get his Afrikaner votes back, he had to go. That is just my opinion. I think they're trying to stop the freedom. Front plus.
You think it's as simple as that, or as narrow as that, when the bigger vote is much broader?
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your listeners. Ashraf, I think the neighboring countries, all of them, they must just be fair to South Africa. When times have changed for South Africa, now they must just say to their people, at least South Africans have shown you that they love you. They've shown you that you are their brothers and sisters. But the times are also hard for them. Please come back home. Thank you.
Please come back home. And linked to that, the story of the Malawians.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You speaking to John. The Malawian government sent 8 buses to take their people to Malawi, whereas there are about 10,000 more there. That's not fair. They are used to free stuff, where South African is providing, deporting people for free. Now they're expecting us to do the same. And I don't hear you guys saying anything about it. You need to say something to the Malawian embassy and say that is wrong what they are doing. They need to help their people. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I'll tell you what we should do, and I'd like to, is perhaps get the embassies of a few countries affected by these repatriations, including Malawi, and it could be others too, to just get their thoughts in terms of the official position on a range of issues, like the questions you've just asked. It's fair comment.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Baki in Cape Town. In regard to the ceasefire or the deal between the US and Iran, I really would like to comment about the comments or the language that Donald Trump is using. He says, even though I'm not quoting him direct, he says if Iran does not behave, America is going to kill them. Is going to land bombs upon their heads, kill them. Honestly, the yearly leader, the whole leader, speaks this way. This is Baki in Cape Town.
Paki, why would you be surprised, and I'm being blunt about it, why would you be surprised about anything that Donald Trump said? Just pick up what he said about Israel and Lebanon, and maybe he's going to get Syria to sort things out just in the last couple of... it's just bizarre. Right, there's more comments, including about John Steenhuisen, but many others too. The DRC, the issue of foreign nationals, and just the issue of South Africa's immigration crisis. Can we call it anything less than a crisis? It is a crisis, isn't it? What else would you call it? 5:30, here's the news headlines with Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. No crisis in the headlines. The Zululand Energy Terminals announced the signing of an initial deal with American energy giant ExxonMobil. Judgment's been reserved in the matter between the MK Party and the IEC at the Electoral Court in Johannesburg. And the International Relations Minister says South Africa and Rwanda must deepen economic cooperation and increase trade and investment. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Fairly busy on Joburg's highways. Now the N1 South going down to 14th Avenue. No traffic lights as you come off the highway on that 14th Avenue bridge at Hendrik Potgieter. So that's all backed up. The N1 South queues from Randburg. Before you even get there, the M1 sitting between Buccleuch and the Willie Mandela off-ramp. The Mike 1 from Houghton, Melrose, all the way down to Boysons. The N3 from Limbro Park down towards Heldenage in Germiston. Looking heavy. And queues again home to Lenasia and Protea Glen on that N12 between Eldorado Park and the Klipsray Valley exit. Over in Durban, the N3 is badly backed up today. Coming out of Durban on your way to Pinetown, going to sit in big traffic from Sherwood through to Pavilion Mall. I say that it is starting to move, but it's still very heavy. Queues as well between Umgeda Road and Spaghetti Junction. That's roadworks and at least a couple of breakdowns. And the M7 is queuing coming out of Pinetown on your way through North Dean towards Queensborough. That's the result of an earlier tanker fire. That traffic sitting currently from around about the N3 off-ramp all the way down to that main road North Dean off-ramp as well. It is heavy. And a stationary truck at the bottom end of the Pietermaritzburg bypass has finally been cleared away, and that's alleviated that problem. Heading out of Cape Town through Somerset West, no traffic lights. N2 at Broadland, so there's an additional way to get through there today. The N1 fairly heavy from the Kuba interchange all the way through to about Okavango Road, and a crash and some roadworks on the Hillcrest through Durbanville section of Tygerberg Road. If you're trying to get through to Durbanville, that's heavy, and roadworks between Buckoven and Llandudno causing quite heavy backlogs on Victoria Road along the coast. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sports with Duming Khapele.
Sumi, I tell you what, away from all the big problems in the world and in South Africa, there's football to distract us, and there's a Portugal game on the go now, right?
Absolutely. And Portugal coach Roberto Martinez says that Cristiano Ronaldo has been training with so much energy and enthusiasm, and it looked like he was preparing for his first World Cup rather than his sixth. Now, when Ronaldo plays in Portugal's opening match against Congo tonight, he will become only the second player alongside Argentina captain Lionel Messi to appear in 6 FIFA World Cups, despite being a European champion and 5-time Champions League winner. The one major triumph missing in the 41-year-old's trophy cabinet is the World Cup. Meanwhile, the Leopards are making their first appearance at the global showpiece since 1974, but their preparations were heavily disrupted due to an Ebola outbreak back home, which saw them complete a mandatory 21-day quarantine before entering the United States. The team, formerly known as Zaire, had qualified for the tournament via the playoffs when they ran out 1-0 victors over Jamaica after extra time on the 31st of March, and kick-off for this game is at 7 p.m. Also tonight, England face Croatia at 10 p.m. Then Ghana are up against Panama at 3 a.m. And Ghana will be without Thomas Partey after he did not tell officials in Canada the truth, saying that he had never been arrested or charged with a crime. The 33-year-old was denied entry to Canada before today's match in Toronto because of ongoing criminal proceedings in the UK. The Ghanaian government asked for permission for him to enter the country briefly to take part in the game, but that appeal was rejected at a federal court. Meanwhile, Bafana have officially arrived in Atlanta for their second game against Czechia tomorrow. Both sides desperate for wins after losing their opening game, so tomorrow's game is a must win for both nations. Bafana currently bottom of the group, and a win would move them on to 3 points and place qualification for the knockout stages firmly in their own hands ahead of the final group fixture against South Korea next week. A draw would keep South Africa alive, but Bruce's side would likely need to beat Korea and hope other results fall in their favor. Elsewhere, Real Madrid have announced the signing of Bernardo Silva for 2 years on a free transfer. This is after he left Manchester City. Silva had left City after 9 trophy-laden years when the 31-year-old's contract expired at the end of the season. He made 459 appearances for Manchester City in total, scoring 76 goals since joining from Monaco in 2017. Also, in terms of cricket, there's some action today in terms of the Proteas women, and wicketkeeper Sinalo Jafta says that they are not panicking ahead of their match against Pakistan today. This is despite losing their T20 World Cup opener against Australia on Saturday. Well, the game kicks off at, or is going to play at 7:30. Just earlier on, Australia beat Bangladesh by 9 wickets with 63 balls left. In terms of rugby, Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus believes that Saturday's match against the Barbarians presents an important opportunity to build squad depth ahead of the 2026 season, with several players unavailable due to injuries and the Bulls' involvement in the United Rugby Championship final. Erasmus has used the occasion to test several combinations, and one of the more notable selections is utility back Quan Horn, who has been named at fly half. Erasmus says that the coaching staff are keen to see how Horn adapts to the role as they continue to strengthen the options in a key position. Then in terms of golf, Brooks Koepka says that he will tee it up at this week's US Open. This is despite withdrawing from the Canadian Open with a left-hand issue. The 5-time major winner experienced weakness and tingling in his pinky and ring finger over the weekend, making it difficult to grip the club. Now, a scan ruled out neck problems, and Koepka says that the ulnar nerve just flared up a little bit, and he reports steady improvements and returns to Shinnecock for the first time since winning there in 2018. That's it from my side.
Okay, Chumi, and yeah, I understand if you have your mind on the football and in the middle of that cricket, it's very difficult to actually concentrate seriously.
Add to cart. Love it.
Let's clear your cart when I get.
For real?
Yeah, bo. With my cashback from MyWay, I will be getting 10% of my premiums back for staying claim-free for 2 years. So I'll have some extra cash to spoil you and let you live your way.
Dad, you're the best.
Real people, real cars, real rewards. For a quote, visit myway.co.za. My cashback is a feature on qualifying products paid after 2 claim-free years and all premiums paid. Premiums are risk profile dependent. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSB. T's and C's apply. MyWay. Live your way.
Lava breaks through once more.
They are relentless in their pursuit of a maiden World Cup title. They are carried by the nation, and they are unbreakable. Get behind Laura Wolfhard and her team as they compete in the 2026 ICC Women's T20 World Cup in England and Wales from 12 June to 15 July. Watch Shabneen Ismail, Marizan Cup, Ayabonga Kaka and company raise the game to new heights. Find out all you need to know at cricket.coza.
Magic.
This June, Youth Month, SAfm brings South Africans together across generations to reflect, challenge, remember, and reimagine the future. From students to struggle veterans, from campus radio to community voices, from 1976 to 2026. This is 50 years later. A month-long national conversation only on SAfm. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAfm. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, Jimmy, so much focus on the leaderboard when it comes to group stages of World Cup matches. What about the business leaderboard and JSE companies?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. We have two companies reporting results, or rather that reported results at 7:05 this morning for their respective year ends. One is a property real estate investment trust in the form of Vukile Property Fund Limited. We're going to be speaking to their chief executive officer and getting a sense of the year that was for them. And the other is, of course, Premier Group, the business that owns brands like Bull Brand, Blue Ribbon, Snowflake, and Rhodes Quality, amongst others. They also reported for their financial year end. We're going to speak to their CEO as well around their performance. We're also going to have a conversation with the portfolio manager at Allan Gray, Varshan Maharaj, taking a look at investing in uncertain times and how investors can best navigate this. Then we're going to take a look at the role of artificial intelligence in the education system with the team at Eduvos, and we're going to wrap up our show with an executive lounge conversation. I've got the chief executive officer of a property, or rather a bond origination company, coming into studio to chat to us a little bit more and get to know him beyond his day-to-day responsibilities. So that's what's coming up on the show today. A quick sense of what's been happening on the markets side of things. It has been an interesting day. At some point, I had a look at the local markets and we were below, or international markets rather, we were below $80 a barrel on the oil price. I'm sad to report that we are back above $80 a barrel there, but we can enjoy the optimism and the hope that we might potentially return back below. We're actually slightly below at the moment, $79.60 at current price. We were just north of 80 about an hour ago at $82 a barrel. So been a bit of an up and down day on the oil side of things, but the fact that we broke below $80 a barrel is hugely positive news for our fuel prices. We already know that the team at Petro SA have given us an indication that we could be in for a diesel cut of more than 4 rand as it stands. We of course know that number's unconfirmed at this stage, much a rumor, and we'll hear a more concrete number as we edge closer towards the end of the month. But locally, the equity markets did exceptionally well. Industrial sector stocks were down almost a full percent, but that was negated by the 4% gains in resource stocks, and the 1.3% gains in financial stocks led to the all share closing out 0.4% in the green, the top 40 up 0.46%. International markets were far more mixed than that. US markets are currently in the red, the Nasdaq down 0.1% when the S&P is down only 3 basis points. European markets all in the red. The DAX in Germany, that is the biggest loser, down about 14 basis points. In Asian markets that we've been trading earlier this morning, the biggest winner there was the Nikkei in Tokyo. The biggest loser was the Hang Seng in Hong Kong. The currency side of it, the rand, 16 rand 16 cents against the US dollar, even stronger than where we had left it, back at 16.17 now, but I did see 16.16 about 5 or 10 minutes ago. And if we look at the price of a British pound, it's 21 rand 66 cents, 1 euro 18 rand 74 cents, 1 Australian dollar 11 rand 43, 1 Bitcoin 65,400 odd dollars a Bitcoin in rand terms, with that firmer rand 1,056,000 1,000 rands there. If we look at the commodity side before we go, we had a look at the oil price. The gold price, $4,350 odd a fine ounce. Platinum still below 1,800. Palladium still below 1,400. And silver back above $70 a fine ounce. We're going to look at these and other market movements with Otto 1890's David Shapiro when he joins me on markets a little later on, but that comes up obviously just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. You have a good show coming up 6 to 7.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, the other coming up is you. We'll talk to you because you're part of the Pulse community. I need to hear you out coming up soon. However, let's talk about this. The Thabo Mbeki Foundation, in collaboration with Classics on Turf, will be hosting a tribute concert honoring the life and music works of Tio Soga, one of the most remarkable South African composers and literary giants of the 19th century. The question is, how much do you know about that? And what about this fabulous orchestra that is imminent and you can take advantage of it? Well, we have with us the rather renowned Tlwano Masote, and I say renowned, deliberately so, musician-conductor with Classics on Turf. Good to connect with you. We've never spoken on there, have we?
We have many years ago. How are you?
A long time ago. Maybe one of the other concerts, right? I understand as I talk to you, I mean, you are busy in rehearsals, which is probably the most ideal time to talk to you.
Absolutely. The choir's just starting to warm up, and we're about to get underway, tackling the repertoire of Tio Soga for this Saturday, second day of rehearsal. Yesterday, we had a beautiful first reading with the orchestra, so really looking forward to this week's concert.
Oh, great. So tell us why does Tio Soga matter?
Tio Soga is, as you said in your introduction, one of the founding fathers, if you like, of our African Renaissance. He lived in that time of the second half, or actually the middle of the 19th century, educated in Scotland, in fact married a Scotswoman. They had 8 children. And Tio Soga lived only to be 42. However, he really made full use of his years here on Earth. A literary giant, as you say, published the first publication in isiXhosa, wrote this iconic hymn amongst many others, Lizalisi Dingalako. But he really spoke to inclusivity and justice.
Fabulous, right? And therefore the connection, I would think, with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, right? Let's then talk about the specifics of the concert. So one is obviously honoring the legacy of Tio Soga, but amongst the actual specifics of the night, what would that be?
Yeah, so Mandisi Jantis, who is very well known, a really exceptional performer, singer, jazz trumpeter, will be leading this concert. He's actually, if you like, the artistic director of this whole project. These are hymns that are very close to his heart, and we're reimagining them in a 21st century context. So he'll be here with his trio from Cape Town and 7 singers that he works with in Cape Town, along with the Renaissance singers. So the singers from Cape Town actually arrived this morning, so we're going to have all 31 voices in just a moment in rehearsal. And I've assembled the Chamber Orchestra of Johannesburg, 34-piece orchestra, and we'll be reinterpreting these wonderful arrangements courtesy of Professor Mike Campbell in Cape Town.
Okay, fabulous. So what can one expect? And as I say that, I mean, I would think of 2 groups. One who are aficionados, they would really understand the classics, and others who don't understand it, but they are very tempted after listening to you and I talk.
Absolutely, and it is really that. It is a gateway for those that are curious about maybe orchestral music and serious, in inverted commas, choral music, but also praise music, hymns that many South Africans would have grown up singing, and in the Presbyterian and Methodist traditions. So we are putting all of that on an orchestral, choral platform and reinterpreting them with Mandisi, with his brand of Afro soul singing. So it is really looking at this very interesting man from the 19th century through a 21st century lens.
Absolutely great. I suppose even when we talk to you in your auditions, there's always like quirky moments that emerge. I mean, is there a nice story you can tell us?
Well, other than the fact that Tio Soga had these 8 children, I think the most interesting thing for me is that every time Mrs. Soga had children, or at least was going to give birth, she took a ship to Scotland. So Tio Soga would only see their children when they were close to a year old. I find that a quirky thing, and I wonder why that would be. But Tio Soga, of course, lived also in a time when Darwin's On the Origins of Species was just published, and all the controversies around it. He had quite a bit to say about some of the kind of, let me be blunt, some of the racist, kind of, what's the word? The things that Darwin put forward about, also tiers of humans. So he lived in that time, and he really opposed such thinking. Initially as a cleric, but I think as a social and a social activist.
Very interesting indeed. Let's then talk about. I'm expect people to go Google Tio Soga right now. After you setting the scenes, I need to find out a whole lot more about the person, right? However, let's get to the concert. The who, what, when, where, why. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so Wits Great Hall, well, firstly, it's sold out, but it's worth telling you where it's happening. Wits Great Hall, an iconic venue where if you think about Todd Machikiza's King Kong was premiered there in the late 1960s, Gideon Ngumalo's Jazz Fantasia was premiered there. So it's a place, and of course, myself being a Witsi, it's a place of great reverence for me. So I'm very happy to be able to conduct there because usually we use the Linda Auditorium. So Wits Great Hall this Saturday, 7 p.m., the Renaissance Singers, the Chamber Orchestra of Johannesburg, Mandisi Jantis, and his band from Cape Town. And of course, I'll be the guy in the middle waving his stick and hopefully everyone following along.
Okay, and since it's all sold out, I'd probably be the guy outside the Wits Great Hall on those glorious steps waiting to sign your autograph on the way out. Something along that line. Much appreciate your time. Enjoy.
And many
Sounds
thanks
fabulous.
to SAFM, by the way, who have done a great job helping us, get the word out. So thanks to you guys.
Absolutely done that, SAFM, in collaboration with this tribute concert. Again, Thabo Mbeki, Foundation 2, Classics on Turf. Much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
In fitness, as in finance, endurance is key. If you're 55 and older, you can get an interest rate of up to 10.25% with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Now, feel the earn. Invest within 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank, we're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. For more info, go to nedbank.co.za.
Guys, we're always posting, commenting, and clapping back. But opinions don't count. It's your ex that does. So come 20 and 21 June, get up, show up, and register to vote. Call 0800 11 8000. Visit elections.org.za or WhatsApp 060 880000 for more info. This message is brought to you by the IEC.
50 years later, Youth Month, The Voices.
In 1976, we, the class of 76, threw stones against apartheid, and we saw it falling into pieces. Now, fellow South Africans, I'm particularly referring to you young people. There is no more time to be throwing stones. It is time now to be gathering stones so that we can build a South Africa that we want, and the South Africa that will be owned by you as young people. Time to be gathering stones, South Africa.
Different generations, different experiences. One South Africa, 50 years later. Only on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
So a big event coming from the 17th, which is today, to the 20th of June. It's all about the Drakkies returning to the Mandela stage at the Joburg Theatre for the Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City 2026. It's a 4-day celebration, multiple genres, global music exchange, all of that rolled into one. And note this, right? On Friday the 19th, the internationally acclaimed Minnesota Boys Choir from the USA will join the UJ's choir for the Drakkies special global collaboration of community and heritage. Then on the 20th, the Drakensberg Boys Choir Gala concert takes place, and that is a closing, and it's expected to be quite spectacular. How do you get there? Book your ticket now, dbchoir.com. DB as in Drakensberg Boys, dbchoir.com.
X at SAfm Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Now, you know the WHO's chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, he obviously tweeted the other day on the 14th about South Africa, saying it is profoundly heartbreaking to witness another surge of xenophobic violence in South Africa this week. Hundreds have marched on Parliament, thousands of families have been displaced, and lives have been tragically cut short. And then referred to 5 Ethiopians killed earlier in the attacks and 5 Mozambicans who died in Mossel Bay. Thousands more now fleeing for their lives. I mean, he said a lot more. You can check out that tweet. Now, the reason I'm calling it out is that Minister of International Relations, Minister Ronald Lamola, tweeted saying yesterday, Dr. Tedros and I had a constructive and cordial teleconference to discuss his concerns around xenophobia in South Africa. On the specifics of Dr. Tedros' tweet, we clarified that the tragic death of 5 Ethiopian nationals are linked to organized crime within the Ethiopian community in South Africa rather than xenophobic violence. Regarding Mozambican nationals, we noted that reports of 5 deaths are inaccurate as unfortunately 2 have been confirmed, and South African police is investigating these murders with the utmost seriousness. And then there's a lot more which I will not read. He also said we acknowledged that irregular migration is a real challenge for South Africa, one that must be managed humanely and within the framework of the law. The enforcement of the immigration law is for the mandated authorities, not private individuals. Right, let's get to your thoughts. There's a reaction on the conversation we just had.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, I think the Thabo Mbeki Foundation is right in terms of having that lecture of Tio Soga. Tio Soga was one of the guys that wrote a lot of documents and books for Amaxhosa. He was one of the intellectuals that was around. And I think other foundation must follow in terms of giving a lot of information to these youth so that they must have information around their heroes as such. It's Galaxy 500 in Sprayed View.
Okay, you've made your point and very clearly at that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners of SAfm. I think it's been long overdue for John Stay, for the DA leader, John Steenhuisen. I think the guy just lost it. I mean, since he joined the National Assembly, I think he has lost it. Maybe he's one of those leaders like the Patriotic Alliance, who was very vocal about certain issues against the ruling party, but once he was taken into the parliament, the tune was changed. So I think DA did a very good job. I think he's still lucky for him still having a job, because he was supposed to even taken out of the cabinet, because he has really sold the DA. Thanks.
Well, really sold the DA? How so?
Good evening, Ashraf. I mean, we cannot blame DA or its leader. John Steenhuisen badly performed, honestly. I mean, it was long overdue. You cannot blame the leader of DA. The guy was invisible. He was nowhere to be seen. And for me, it seemed as if he had no idea of what he was doing. He just enjoyed, the protection and the blue lights. That's all. Thanks. This is Luzogo in the Eastern Cape.
Was he really invisible? I don't think he was invisible. I think he was very visible. The question is, what did he do when he was visible? Invisible? No.
Ashraf, hope you are well, man. What is happening in Sherwood, Durban? The thing is bad. First of all, those people have been confirmed by Home Affairs and government that 90% of them are undocumented. which makes them very dangerous to us as citizens, to us as the country, because they are untraceable. Should they kill someone there or kill any policeman, no one's gonna get them. They are untraceable.
Nobody's going to get them. Untraceable.
How's it, Ashraf? I must say I'm quite torn in between around this issue of illegal foreigners, mainly because I understand the conditions that these African countries are in since I travel around and I've seen, why people would want to come to South Africa. On the other hand, we have issues in our country where people are victims of crimes, where a person's face and fingerprints are there, but the police just say this person can't be tracked or located since he's not documented. Yeah, I'm just quite torn in between, man. But yes, at the end of the day, administrative processes have to be followed, and the law needs to take its course. Wandile and Joburg.
Thanks for that, Wandile. I tell you what, others also torn. Are you? I mean, and you can have different views. You can be completely pro human rights and saying that foreign nationals must be given a space under Ubuntu, number one. You can also be that person who said there must be controls, and you can also be that person to say we cannot have thousands of people unemployed in our country and there are foreign nationals who take those jobs. You can be all those things. And you can also say that government must get its act together in just allowing a free-for-all for anybody to enter the country. That's not acceptable. You can be that chameleon. I think you can.
Let's get one thing straight, Ashraf. Steenhuisen was okay-ish as a DA leader, but he was horrible as a minister. What surprises me is the fact that Ramaphosa didn't fire him first. Why didn't he fire him first? If the new DA leader think John Steenhuisen was horrible as a minister and decided to move him up, why couldn't Ramaphosa do that before? Why did he have to wait for the DA federal thing to go on and Lewis is chosen? He should have fired him first. But how can you fire an incompetent person if you are incompetent yourself? I'm Soviet King Hamster.
Your punchline had just spoiled it if you're incompetent yourself. The more complicated answer is they're part of a GNU and there's this intent that they have as parties. So, yes, I think if you can maybe fire the person if they've got clear grounds of breaking the rules. But if they are underperforming, I think you have to go through the party. In this case, the party felt he was underperforming and they had to go through the president. But he's putting his mind to it. Let's end with this. Asanda Kobesi saying, Ashraf, my only issue with John Steenhuisen's demotion is that a coloured woman with an honours degree will lose her post because a white man with a matric certificate must be deployed regardless. People of colour, know your DA. Some lobbying there, I can hear. That's the show. We'll do it again tomorrow, 3 to 6. Remember, 3 to 5, in fact, because we have an hour of the markets coming up early because of that special Bafana preview. Well, we'll actually take the Bafana game in live from 6 o'clock. So all of that shifted. Crucial match. Let's hope we all win. Win on air. Win whatever we do. And I hope you keep on winning in what you do in your life. Right now, it's the news at 6 with the winning news anchor, Greg House.